All right, looks like we're live. I'm here with my two sidekicks, as I always am, Artistic Layman and Undertow.
Yeah, it's
Hello,
us.
everyone.
And this week, I literally can't even. Wednesday, someone hit my car, fender bender. Now, the insurance company will take care of that, but it's still a hassle. It's still time consuming. But then it turns out I'm going to have a lot more free time because Thursday, I got laid off from my day job. And then Friday, I had to finally put my my dog down due to his failing health. And so that's been the past 3 days for me. And I'm pretty well ass whooped right now. I don't have a show in me, guys. I don't remotely have a show in me. Not at all. I mean, unless you want to spend 2 hours sitting here listening to me cry about my dog, and I don't really think you want that. So what's going to happen this week is I'm going to turn the reins over to my sidekicks, and they're going to run the show. They're going to do this. I'm going to mute my mic, and that'll be it. And I'll pop back in when we need to wrap it up. But this is going to be a very Bechtloff-free episode of the Bechtloff podcast. So, as always, if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the show, do check out the sponsor below, Race Ride Apparel. That helps us out, and to the good folks at Race Ride Apparel, because this is not a typical show. This week's plug is on the house. So, been a real shitty week for me. My week has been a fucking country song come to life. So I don't have a show in me. Like I said, I'm just rambling here. I'm just gonna pass this on to my sidekicks. You guys go ahead and take it away.
All right, have a good night, Chris. So this is not an April Fool's joke. That all of that actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to get that out of the way. I want to talk a little bit about how April Fool's is the worst holiday ever. And how I don't even open Facebook on April 1st. Or YouTube for that matter. Because I don't want to see everybody lie to me. Like, it's so creative and funny. Oh man, I'm doing the thing that literally everybody else is doing today. Aren't I creative? No, stop.
How's it different from any other day?
Oh, he's got jokes, people. Anyway, tonight we're not going to have callers per se, although we are going to bring in a few of our mild-mannered guests. I'm sending out some invites now to the fine folks who we are having on Skype. And yeah, let's see here.
So who's
Luke,
on the
you got anything? You got anything you want to talk about this week?
Nothing that really grabbed my attention so far. I'm just remarking how the right is being immortal. You know how Hillary Clinton immortalized the alt-right? Well, now she's done it again by saying that the Breitbart effect has had a profound impact on the election cycle.
Tell me more.
It's apparently it's not her specifically, but a spokesperson came out to explain basically to the people out there or future Democrat voters that we didn't really understand how powerful Breitbart was, and we have to. And of course, it's an attempt to say how vile and racist everyone is, of course. But basically, and also the dangers Trump has by having access to Twitter and a lot of that. We had let's see, where was it? Oh yeah, here it is. We had a lot of policy we were trying to communicate that got overshadowed by whatever Donald Trump tweeted. This is too much punditry on Twitter on Friday. Whoever was going to take the blame for the healthcare bill.
Yeah. And we have a lot of people who want to be on, so we're actually, for those of you who are like, I didn't get an invite, don't worry about it. We're going to be rotating people later on in the show tonight, so no need to panic. RG, Pastor, you there?
Yep.
Yeah, how's it going?
All right, cool.
Great. Not bad.
I've also sent out an invite to Raging Papist. You guys are going to be part of our first batch of guests.
Okay.
So, anything interesting happened this week you guys want to talk about? Sorry, I'm eating ice cream because I'm fat.
What kind of ice cream?
Dulce de leche from Haagen-Dazs. It is caramel flavored ice cream with actual like pieces of caramel mixed into it.
That sounds really good.
It's amazing. I get diabetes twice every time I eat it.
It's good.
You be sure to check your blood pressure or blood sugar, and you check it often.
I can tell you right now it's going to be high, really high. Oh, I know what we can start with. This is going to be close to me and Archie's heart. So, frequent guest of the show, Matt Forney, has recently been really ragging on anime. Boom. It's time to defend our waifus, Argent. Oh, Raging Papist is here. He can help too. Raging Papist is here too.
How's it all going?
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So, do you got anything interesting that happened to you this week you want to talk about, or anything like that? We're getting ready to launch into something really, really dorky.
Oh, well, that's the name of the game for me too. I mean,
right.
I can talk about Andromeda for hours. I don't think anybody wants to hear about
actually,
that.
let's do that. I love hearing about this. We've ranted about this. Matt Matt just sent me a message. We'll get to the anime thing in a second, Matt. But let's spurg about some video here first. Very disorganized show this evening. What with the Bechtloff being MIA.
I'm sorry to hear about that too. Yeah, it sounds terrible.
Yeah, I was talking to him. I said, "Your life is a country song right now," and he's just repeated that like 5 times already. But I mean, it's just awful, you know. But anyway, yeah. So go, Raging Papist. Have you got a copy of this game?
God, no. I am boycotting.
Why would you spend the money?
No, I'm boycotting the shit out of this game. However, I have watched. There's a guy by the name of Lore Runner who's a pretty decent guy. I watched him do a Let's Play on his Twitch channel of it. So I saw a bulk of the game, including the ending, and I just have to say, it's a far bigger shit show than even I anticipated. And I've kind of, really? Yeah, I've been the guy that's like, I've become known for my hating on BioWare. Like on my channel, like that's all my gaming is.
Yeah, we had a full like 2-hour stream on my channel where you just talked about the decline of BioWare.
Yeah, you're like you're like the more indie version of Smudboy.
I will take that as a huge compliment. I love Smudboy.
He's great, yeah. But like he and you kind of have the same thing where everybody just knows you for they're the BioWare guys, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Steve, you all right?
Yeah, look at those eyes.
Those
That is
cold,
the expression
dead
of
eyes,
someone
like a
who
doll's
wants out.
eyes.
They're just like, kill me, get me out of this shit show of a video game.
Oh,
You're gonna pay for that.
Oh, you guys saw that fight scene that's been released by those 2 alien characters?
You mean where the Krogan slap fight each other?
But they headbutt him, and then they slap each other around with their puny little T-Rex arms.
Oh my god.
Okay, so the animations are bad. Is the story? How's the story? Is it garbage too? Is it like Mass Effect 3 or Mass Effect 2 or?
I'll say this: a lot of people that I've seen, how they treat the story and how they're coming to grips with BioWare is, for a lot of people, they say Dragon Age Inquisition it's an okay game, but for me, I was like, that was the height of mediocrity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now they're all saying Andromeda is the height of mediocrity, and I'm saying it's a bad game. So,
No,
so they're always like
It's just
one game
on a
prior.
constant downward slide.
Yeah, I mean, Inquisition, like as the story was really dumb and kind of basic, but as a game, I thought it was okay. Like you were saying, I mean, it was kind of mediocre. It had some cool things,
It was
but by and large, it was
grind
kind of
fest.
mediocre. But
It was like the grindiest, like most sandboxy. I don't know.
I've heard it described as a single player MMO, which sounds like
It is.
brain cancer to me.
Sounds like hell.
Yeah, and that's
it
exactly
was.
what Andromeda is, at least from what I've seen of it. And the problem with the stories in both, I would say, in both Inquisition and in Andromeda, it's the tone and the narrative flow. Yes, I'm going super autist on you guys. It's the
No,
Is there any?
there was
From what I've seen, there is no narrative flow and there is no tone. It's not like it's an inconsistent tone. There is no tone.
Yeah, it's hyper bland. It's the same way. Like Inquisition started off on an interesting note, right? Like, okay, we're gonna go and we're gonna solve the mage conflict, but oh no, there's a tear in the magical reality, and demons are pouring out, and we have to resolve this, right? The problem is that in Inquisition, you solve that in chapter 1, and the game goes for 2 more chapters.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
I didn't know
actually
that.
thought the idea was kind of interesting, like you not being sure if you're actually a prophet sent by God or not.
Right, but the problem is then with the narrative, within the narrative, they don't tell you if you are or aren't. They allow you to be an atheist or a theist, or is this all swamp gas, or is this the real thing?
Corey,
He's member of the Inquisition. What is this? Is this?
Oh well, the
like,
Inquisition doesn't
40K?
function like any kind of regular Inquisition. Like that word has no meaning in that game. It's not like the Spanish Inquisition or anything.
Well,
It's just basically
I was
gang.
making a joke because the same thing is true in 40K. The Inquisition is just like the CIA.
what's his
Anyway.
name? Corey Ephes?
Corypheus, yeah.
Corypheus is
People
like
just call him Corey.
when I first saw him, I said "fuck this noise" and I stopped playing the game. That is the stupidest looking villain I've ever seen.
Yeah,
He's like, I'm using time travel to change history, and I'm like,
he looks like some kind of chaos demon halfway through a transformation.
Well,
Yeah,
he's a
this-
reskin of like the end boss or something from not Mass Effect, the whatchamacallit, Dragon Age 2.
Yeah.
'Cause he was blue in that game. Now he's red. I guess because he's mad.
He's fallen to the dark side.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got too many dark side points.
like
Tip
I
and scale there.
just I
Hey,
literally just-
BioWare references.
Yes, right. When BioWare was good.
Yeah. Huh. Well, you know what? That's the thing. I reinstalled Knights of the Old Republic the other day because I was hearing all this hype about Andromeda being so crap, and I was like, I want to like. It's like when you see a trailer for a new Harrison Ford movie and you wince and then go back and watch Star Wars or Indiana Jones just to clear your
Right.
palate. Like I want to remember him how he was. It was like that. And so I went back.
Has anyone here seen Ender's Game?
I've not seen
Yes.
the movie, but I'm a longtime fan of the book.
No, the movie, Harrison
Pretty
Ford
bad.
is in it, and it's the most phoned in role I've ever seen.
Oh,
He's literally like yawning
that
during
sucks.
the movie.
He just
It
walks
actually
around
is
looking
funny.
stoic. That's all his role is.
Oh, you've seen it?
But
Yeah.
anyway, I went and I reinstalled Knights of the Old Republic, and I actually got it for like $5 on Steam or whatever because I'm not going to go and search for 8 CD-ROMs. God, I'm glad those days are over. And like Bechtloff really laments the loss of physical media, but I'm glad I don't have to worry about that many discs. Granted, with Blu-rays these days, it's not an issue anymore. But anyway. So I reinstalled Knights of the Old Republic, and I'm playing through it. I'm on the first planet. I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. This is just how I remembered it. And I go into that shop, on one of the very first shops that you can go to, where you can buy a little R2 droid or whatever. And there's this Twi'lek lady at the counter, and one of the options is, I'm surprised to see an alien running the store up here on the top level. She says, "Oh, most people are pretty bigoted, but we're moving forward now.
God
And,
almighty.
I'm glad to see." And I'm like, "Oh my God, the seeds were there all along."
The seeds were there, yeah.
And I'm like, "This is like what the janitor wrote in his free time." And they're like, "Yeah, whatever, social comment, whatever, put it in." But now those are the people running the entire company.
Yeah, the
And when that
inmates
happened-
are running the asylum. Yeah.
The inmates are running the asylum. And when that happened, I was so distraught. I have not picked the game up since then. I just turned it off. I'm like, nope. My image of this game is now
Harris
forever
is
ruined.
just-
Because I wanted to go back and say, oh, it was the good guys who made this. And now it's like, no, these people were already there.
Yep, they were over there.
Can I say
Harris
something
was
else real
also
quick?
just shit.
Real quick. Why on earth would you refer to them as aliens in freaking Star Wars?
I don't know. I suppose
I'm waiting.
Xenos would be better, but
Xenos would be better, but that would make it 40K, and that's too
Right.
I guess. Even though
that's too red
heavy,
pill. Yeah.
That's too red pill. Too many heavy metal album covers for that, dude.
Yep.
Ugh. Anyway, go ahead.
They're never referred to as aliens. They're always referred to by whatever species they are.
Right, but except for Knights of the Old Republic.
Hmm.
And
The Sith
it's
are
really,
extremely
really weird.
You just could call them meat bags.
Yeah. But I would say like, because I saw the on the loading screen for the podcast, Bechtloff had the sock puppet with the library behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the books behind the sock puppet was SJW's Always Lie by Vox Day.
Yeah.
If you want to find out what happened to BioWare, I suggest you pick that book up, because
really?
that shows convergence. With the whole, SJWs slowly infiltrating and slowly co-opting an institution.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the final straw? Well, when the bosses depart, now the SJWs take over, and they solidify their hold. And so, I've heard all kinds of shit shows, stories about devs walking off of Andromeda, and they've had different project leads. EA put them through the whole Code Monkey, scenario of for 2 months you're going to be on crunch. But basically, I don't feel that's the book right there. I don't feel that sorry for them, because that's part of coding, right? That's part of, I expect you to do your job. And the writing is such a catastrophe. It's astounding, because sort of the way Inquisition dealt with the entire game in the first chapter, and then for 2 more chapters you're going to deal with this guy that we show you. Inquisition or Andromeda does that. So you go to a new galaxy to find some new worlds for humanity, right? Because we have to get rid of the entire old trilogy. It's bad, right? So we have to go to someplace new. So we're cutting it there.
Is this a prequel or?
No, it takes place 600 years in the future. Okay, 600
because everybody
years.
goes. Basically, what it is before Mass Effect 3, because Mass Effect 3 is this apocalyptic thing where the Reapers come back, and one of the potential endings is all life in the galaxy ends. I guess if you wanted to continue a series after that, you shouldn't have made that an option, BioWare.
You so screwed up your universe that you can't continue it in the galaxy.
But anyway, it starts off as a midquel before Mass Effect 3, and a bunch of people leave the Milky Way entirely.
Not because of the Reapers, though, and you'd think that'd be the obvious answer, is that this was like a backup plan to deal with the Reapers, but no,
they just felt like going.
Right. So we're gonna devote all of these resources to this expedition, and not care at all about the Reapers at all. Which, maybe if they could have worked that in there, could have been interesting as to why they weren't more prepared in Mass Effect 3. But I don't know if I wouldn't think that they would have thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they deal with the entire premise of what the game was supposed to be in the first chapter, right? Because they arrive in the new galaxy, and it's supposed to be, okay, well, here's the golden world that we're supposed to inhabit, right? And so humanity is going to be struggling to survive. So right there, you already have some, and I guarantee you Smudboy would be able to back this up. You have colonization, right? You have internal drama, the struggle to survive of settlers. You have alien races that are already there, who are technologically advanced, who don't want you settling on their land, right? You could make an incredible story of all this hard character drama and the struggle for humanity, and can we work together? Can there be a peace between us? But nope, they end all of that. They end all of that at the end of the first chapter, when you find out, there's another alien race that hates all of us. And now we should work together to deal with that. The exact same thing they did in Inquisition.
Of course.
And I mean, again, you had the opportunity to actually discuss the pros and cons of imperialism, actually have an adult conversation about that very thing,
What do you think this is, New Vegas?
Yeah, so it's and that's what I mean by the tone and the narrative completely lose their face. You can't deal with this, and it's unfortunate, because the reason that BioWare doesn't deal with that like they used to in some of their old games is they're just not going to touch the hot topic. They're SJWs. They don't want to let the nationalists or the imperialists have their say. They don't want to give them a real thing. But at the same time, I can't tell you that I'm right, because I could be wrong too. Nobody's right in this. It's just bad. So it's your typical sort of relativistic SJW stance that just killed the
And
game.
speaking of New Vegas, Chris Avalone is an example of somebody who is generally a leftist, but who does not stifle conversations. You know what I mean? Like he has like Caesar in New Vegas is talking about the Hegelian dialectic and stuff. You know, like that's
beautiful.
not right wingers bad.
Yeah.
You know.
Have y'all seen the ad for Mass Effect Andromeda, like the YouTube ad?
The I'm Only Human video.
Yeah, that is like the perfect song for this game.
Yeah, it's don't blame us.
Brilliant.
Don't blame us.
Yeah.
It's just we couldn't have done it. Nothing we could do. Wow.
Nothing I could do. It is what it is, but I digress.
Right. Anyway, that's my spiel. I don't want to take up the whole. Thank you for having me on. I've never been on here before, so I won't bulldoze you all with BioWare.
Now wait a minute. I could have sworn we had you on here once before, haven't we?
I interviewed you Undertow once for Gamergate.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it was. Golly.
That was a while back.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's okay, that's my mistake then. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's so I mean, how does it end? That's what I want to know. Because from what I understand, the entire story is just like your standard MacGuffin hunt. Go from planet to planet and hit the vault thingy on each one, and then you win.
Yep. Yeah, because they've lost any pretext of we are struggling to survive colonization and aliens don't like us. Well, now we all like each other because there's an alien menace that's trying to kill us all. I will tell you this: it ends, and if people don't, people are not going to like this. It ends on a cliffhanger to buy another game.
Come on. More specifics.
Okay, so you wind up going up against this alien who winds up this alien race who's trying to have everybody assimilate into his race, right, into his faction. Okay, he's the new Corey for this game.
Whoa! Wait a minute. Is this the SJW's like internal conscience trying to save them, trying to get a message out? This is what you're becoming.
Well, remember, they always project.
That's true. That's true.
So in the end, he goes into some vault and activates this technology, like this becoming this weird Dyson sphere thing. And by the way, I'm just going to say spoilers because I'm talking about the ending of the game. You shouldn't, but you should not play this game. Do not play this game. Yeah, if you care, here's spoilers. End it now. But essentially,
spoilers.
Yeah. So he goes to activate this Dyson sphere, which is going to allow all life to live inside the sphere, right? The Dyson sphere is like the perfect habitat for humanity, and these aliens just so happen to come together and live harmoniously in this thing. So he's trying to activate that for himself, and so you, as the Pathfinder, go in there and blow up all his machines. You don't kill him, but you blow up all the machines that he's activating that are going to attack the Dyson sphere, right, and attack you and the colonists and all that stuff. So in the end, he winds up essentially saying, I'm going to get you next time. And he walks off the screen, and you and the Pathfinder are like, whoa, thank God we stopped him, huh? And now we have this place to live for all of us, and he literally walks away, and there's the credits.
So it's like Scooby-Doo?
Or Inspector Gadget.
Next time, Gadget. Next time.
Yeah. And so there's an obvious build, and I can guarantee you this from the shit show that I've seen already. In the second game, you're going to find out he's not that bad of a guy. He's just misunderstood.
Why are there like Asari and other aliens from our galaxy?
Because they all came aboard on these things called arcs. Yeah, go figure. It's actually somewhat biblical.
And all the arcs were segregated, though.
They were all properly except for the mysterious fifth arc, like the last arc, where they just took all these other species, including Quarians, and they all put them together and sent it off into space, and you can't find it throughout the game.
Oh.
So
there's no Quarians.
No, there's no Quarians, there's no Volus, there's no Hanar. They were all placed onto this arc.
All the fan favorites?
Yep.
So there's like there's the A arcs and like the B arc with the.
You'll find the 5th arc with the DLC. Don't worry.
Yes,
Oh, God,
that's
you're
absolutely right.
Oh.
I'm not kidding. At the end of the game, I was watching Lore Runner play through it. He goes to this this icon, and when he clicks on it, you get there's a distress signal from the 5th arc. We found the Quarians, but we can't get to them just yet because there's an ion storm.
I'm having
Everyone's
flashbacks.
Must
favorite
construct
race.
additional pylon.
I'm having flashbacks to Dawn of War Winter Assault, where the leader of one of the factions somehow manages to lose 100 tanks the size of houses. They're just gone. It's never explained. Ugh.
So that the Quarians are going to be DLC for this game, and in the next game they're going to say, well, he's just misunderstood. There's no such thing as a bad guy. So he was just trying to assimilate you because he doesn't understand.
Well, no, I mean racists are bad, but everything else is bad.
Right.
Everything else is okay.
Yeah, and he hates you because of racism. Yeah, that's why. So.
Oh my god. They you know what they were trying to do? They were trying to make it refugees coming to Europe. That has to be what they were trying to do.
Yeah, very and they spent 5 years. 5 years on this game. And those animations, man. Those animations.
Was Mass Effect 3 really in 2012?
Yeah.
Good lord. This still feels like it just happened.
It reminds me actually of when two best friends did their parody of Alien Colonial Marines, and they're like, every DLC a banquet, every $60 game of fortune.
Wow.
Every DLC a banquet.
Well, but hey, don't put the blame on them. They're only human after all.
It kills me because Mass Effect 1 is a game that I really, really liked.
I loved it. Yeah.
It
The
had
Mass Effect
everything.
games were actually pretty based, or they used to be.
1 and 2 were. Number 3, they went off the rails. But
See, and I didn't even like 2 that much.
2 is a fun game. It's got a dumb story, in my opinion, but it is a fun game. I do enjoy the gameplay.
I kind of feel like they kind of made like just being like racist or whatever justified in the Mass Effect games. Like most of the stereotypes tended to be like 100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the best thing from Mass Effect 2 was that little Volus, I think they're called, the little short fat guys. The guy who's like drunk and is convinced that he's all powerful.
Biotic God.
I'm a biotic God. He just has a little like psychic flame pop up in his hand.
Yeah.
That guy was great. Everything
telling
else
him,
about Mass Effect 2, I basically forgot it already.
telling him to charge was so
Charge.
the way Jennifer Hale delivered that line, and yeah, she's another lefty SJW, but my God, she did a great Shepard. And the way she voiced that, charge was so good.
And it kills me because like I played Mass Effect 1 and I was like, man, this was a great action RPG. I really enjoyed it and everything. I started up Mass Effect 2 and I was like, oh, I guess this isn't for me anymore.
Yeah.
Like instantly you had that thing. This is not for RPG fans anymore. Why can't we have RPGs anymore?
Why can't we have
can we just have one? One?
No.
Please?
Because you have to get the maximum amount of people to buy your game as possible. Right. That's why you can't have nice things.
Yeah.
And
it was nice to have like a real time. I like FPS RPGs a lot. So
yeah, me too. Especially stuff like Stalker or I Divine Cybermancy.
Yeah,
shout outs to Strumon.
I Divine Cybermancy is so niche and so like unknown.
But it's amazing, and it's only 99 cents usually on Steam. So nobody has any excuse to not play it. And to watch the most amazing translations of French to English ever. Like you would swear that they translated it to Slavic first.
I need to play more of that. It was just so so weird I never got too far.
It's very weird. It was so hard to get into. They the guys who made that actually went on to make because I've been talking about 40K a lot. They went on to make a 40K tie-in game called Space Hulk Deathwing.
Yeah, I remember that.
That just came out recently, and it's basically the same thing as I Divine Cybermancy, down to the bad translations and everything, but with a slightly better budget and a little bit more autocorrect being used. But
just while we're on the topic of weird games, how do you guys feel about the Borderlands series?
they suck. I hate them, and I've never liked any
You
of them.
hate them?
I have absolutely despised Borderlands from day one.
The company that makes them, I'm boycotting just because of how SJW hard they are.
They are.
I played.
That's how I
listen,
feel.
I had a bunch of friends who were like, "Oh, this Borderlands game is coming out or whatever." I will say this: thank you for introducing me to the electronic musician Champion with your trailer. They're in no heaven on the county road. That was a great song. And thank you for using Cage the Elephant in that game as well, because they deserve the attention. Okay, compliments over. The game is boring. There is no like, people talk about game feel a lot. There's a free weekend going on right now for Titanfall 2, which I've been playing, and I've actually kind of grown to like it. Didn't like it at first, but
Is it better than one?
I didn't play one.
Yeah, actually, I like Titanfall 2. I think it's pretty fun.
Yeah, and I'm growing. It's growing on me. I didn't like it at first because it was like it was throwing 20,000 things at me at once, and I couldn't understand it. But everything in it is so intuitive that after 2 or 3 more games, I kind of was like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. And you know, you can kind of even though it's a first-person game, you can pull off all this cool platforming stuff because the motions are so natural. You can kind of just instinctively expect the way things are going to react when you do something.
And you really have to think 3-dimensionally as well.
Yeah, and there's this like grappling hook that's a lot of fun to use and all that. And the reason I bring all of this up is because Borderlands has none of this. None of this. I mean, it is like, oh my god. Like, I could play the exact same game on the Doom engine, and it would be better. It would be miles better because Doom has like the proper momentum and
Doom game a lot.
Oh yeah. I love you know, Doom engine stuff in general, but
I mean, the new one that came out last year.
I haven't played any of them since 2 because I played 1, hated it. Some friends convinced me to get 2 because they wanted me to play with them, and I was like, fine, you know, and I'll get it and play it with you. And I was just barfing in my mouth because it was worse.
The new one is actually a lot of fun.
I like the new one. It is pretty fun.
Well, it's that and maybe it is, but I'm not going to play it now because I've been fooled twice.
Yeah.
Shame on me, you know.
I like how you don't have to reload.
Oh god.
Yeah, there's no reloading. It took me a while to get used to that.
I remember back when the hype for this was building, and they were like, "You've got 11 billion guns," and they have like a pistol with 5 shots. They're counting as a different gun as the same pistol with 6 shots.
Yeah, they did shit like that.
Like, and that right there was right away like, okay, wrong. You know, there's like 8 weapons maybe in the first game, and they just have varied stats. I don't know. It was like Diablo in first person with really, really forgettable designs and a really good licensed music track in the beginning. But like, especially with stuff like the special abilities, I hated that there was like no RPG-ness to it. You have this one thing that this character can do.
2?
What
in Doom?
No, in Borderlands.
Oh, in
Borderlands.
Borderlands.
We're talking about Borderlands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like you have these abilities.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about Doom from. Oh, okay, sorry, I was.
No, no. Yes, that's no.
Well, yeah, I mean, like the
Borderlands.
soldier can deploy a turret or something like that. You got someone who's essentially like a mage, and then you got someone who can turn invisible, and that's essentially it. It's just, you know.
Yeah, well, I
You
mean,
take the basic class from like Mass Effect and don't advance them at all, and that's pretty much what you get with Borderland.
right. And even when 2 gave you 3 different skill trees, they were all just still the same ability. I couldn't get it. I couldn't get into it. Because it would be okay. I should back up because I'm not really critical of class-based RPGs, right? Where you have like a certain number of abilities and that is what this class does. Not knocking that. That can work if the game is well designed. The problem was it wasn't like you had, you can only learn these 5 abilities as this guy, but you can, mix them and match them. You had one ability. One. And nothing else. Everything else was just point and shoot with hit scan weapons. And I hated it. I hated it.
I always
I
played
don't wanna-
like
I
a
don't wanna-
gun specialist.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. But I don't know. I thought the classes were a lot worse in 2. I actually played the pre-sequel. The pre-sequel was the worst.
It's just isn't Anthony Birch who either made or
No, he wrote 2 and the pre-sequel.
Yeah, I'm just like I'm sorry. It could blow your skirt up with how amazing the gameplay is, but there's no way I'm touching it.
Yeah.
Just
Who's Anthony Birch?
Oh my.
Undertale,
my friend. Like, that's kind of like you walk into the internet and you're like, who's Chris Chan? Like, we got a bag of worms to open with that one. Yes, a bag, because a can would be too sophisticated for Mr. Birch. Basically, this guy is the biggest cuck of all time. Like, when cuck was first becoming like a meme to call people again, like, because from like ye olden days, this guy was like the very first person to be labeled that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because oh my god,
Literally can't even.
Yeah. He's just bad. He's just bad. Okay. Just God.
Could you?
I don't
provide
know.
a little...
I don't know.
For instance,
I don't know enough about him. You're gonna have to. You're gonna have
So
to do
you,
your own
so you
research.
don't
on
know
that.
anything about him other than.
oh, is that him?
Yes, that's him. This is
Sorry.
why I'm at a loss for words. This image, because this is all I can see.
Yeah. Oh, yes. With
Basically-
that's Anthony Birch. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, all of his writing is just generic screenplay stuff, followed by insert internet meme here. Like, lol, so random. I'm so funny.
I
Bacon,
think for,
hot dogs. Ha ha ha
I
ha.
mean, there was like some parts of Borderlands 2 that were funny, but you're right. It is just like there was one thing where you had to like set a bunch of explosives, and the bonus was if you walked away and like slowly with your back turned.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about stuff like Tiny Tina.
yeah, he was
The
he was
entirety
a big
of that
Tiny
character.
Tina guy, yeah. People
What's
love
Tiny
that
Tina?
character.
Do you not remember her?
No.
She was
Oh
like,
yeah,
it blew things
Tina.
up.
Right. Fuck.
Like
Oh.
the most annoying, cringy.
Yeah, I had repressed that.
Yeah.
That was the
Like
worst.
talks
part.
like ghetto speak.
I think the funniest thing in that game was the cult that worshipped Lilith, and you had to go do missions for them.
I don't even remember
But
that.
there was mud sharking in it, so that like made it worse. That was like the final insult.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, after Gamergate, 'cause I'm a Gamergate vet. So after Anthony Birch and that, I was just like, oh man, nope. I don't care how good any of these games are. Borderlands, the IP, the company that makes it, I'm not touching them. Nope.
Yeah.
Well, Gearbox was also behind fucking. I think they were behind Alien Colonial.
Yeah,
Yes, they were.
I bought that abortion. That
Oh
was,
my
I
god.
was so close to buying that. Like, I was on my way to the store to buy it, and I was like, no, I don't think I'm going to.
Every
All right.
DLC banquet.
Dodged a bullet.
$60 game
yeah,
before.
you did.
Davis Arini just sent me on Skype. Tiny Tina is a regressed pedophile. She's
She is.
actually 24 years old and will molest your children. Davis, please stop injecting your head
That would
cannon
be
into
that would
everything.
be too good. That would be like much better, because that would have been like funny.
Data from Star Trek is not an autistic 25-year-old man, Davis. Stop projecting your headcanon.
I don't know though. Davis is an author, so at least he can comment on.
That's true. He's not inserting his headcanon. He's just writing better.
No, it's better than Anthony
He's
Birch.
taking what he's hearing. He's taking. Hey, at least he's not Anthony Birch.
That's right.
That was a meme on V on 8chan for even 4chan too for the longest time. Was like, I woke up this morning and I was considering suicide, and then it happened. The clouds parted, light shone on my face, and I realized, at least I'm not Anthony Birch. Could always be worse.
Yep.
Like, what other games has he written?
I'm not sure. I have to look it up.
I don't think I don't know.
Birch.
Like, literally, I forgot about this. There was a point on 8chan's V for a while there where if you typed in "cuck" in a message, it would autocorrect to Birch.
Anthony Birch?
No, yeah, it would just autocorrect to Birch. So everybody was calling each other Birchalds.
Okay, writer. Not pretty much Borderlands. Hey
like
Ash,
it.
what you playing?
That was his like YouTube show that got him the gig in the first place.
Rocket Jump, the show. And aside from that, just the Borderlands, the pre-sequel, Tales from Borderlands, and Borderlands 2. He's an editor in a couple of things, but as far as writing, that's pretty much all he's written.
I mean, this guy got married to a big fat lady in his backyard. They were both wearing t-shirts and jeans. I'm pretty sure she proposed to him, and their custom like vows to each other was, "Hey, let's get married, all right? Yeah, cool. Sounds good to me."
Wait, so he's not gay?
No, I believe they divorced, and now he's trying to make himself bisexual, so he'll have more of
Yeah,
a
he's just a cuck. He's a literal cuck. So don't worry about it.
Is that what happens to like every person who gets trolled online? They become a tranny? Like, no, I'm serious. It happens like every fucking time.
He gets so emasculated.
No,
Is that
but
gonna-
it happened to Chris Chan. It happened to, isn't the American Atheist a tranny now?
Oh,
No.
are you serious?
No, no.
Well, he dated one, so
You mean he abused one?
yes.
I think there was a bunch of other people.
Do you think?
you guys-
Arjun, do
you
you
guys
think
keep
that would
talking.
happen to
I'm gonna
him?
be right back.
There was the ginger guy. There's like some other people. It's like a common thing.
Would Brianna Wu count?
Sure, why not?
I mean, because she kind of was before. But...
Well, I don't know. I think there's a way to test this theory. We'll see what happens to DSP, right? I mean, if he goes trans.
No, I can't see that happening, actually.
He's got his Panda Lee, right?
I actually don't think Panda Lee's that bad looking.
No, I don't think she's that. I don't think she's that unattractive. Frankly, I think she's kind of almost out of his league. Actually.
No, she's an awful human being, but I don't think she's that bad looking.
Yeah.
What do you think her ethnic background is? Because I can never tell.
I don't know. Probably some type of Southeast European. I'm guessing. I would guess.
Oh, I thought she was maybe Hispanic.
Okay, I came back in here and Phil's on the screen. What have you done? What are you doing?
Yeah.
I leave for 2 seconds and you're on Dark Side Phil?
DSP tries it.
Yeah, DSP tries it going trans.
Oh, it's funny because I was doing a stream of me playing the Ring City, and it just turned into me yelling about bug summoning mechanics, which are actually bugged, to be honest.
So, all right. If nobody has anything else to say on that topic, I would like to move on to defending my Japanese animus from the evil racist Matt Forney.
And the dankness of our mayonnaise.
But I want to. I forget what this was, but Matt posted something about how about how anime was turning men effeminate, and there it is. Yeah, wow, you knew exactly what I was talking about, Luke.
Yep.
Luke's a pro.
And that may be that article may be accurate in some ways, but I think that what is happening there is something that's actually a much broader problem. And Luke, I'm going to send you a picture here. You don't have to put this up immediately, but this is going to come up in the conversation. So yes, there are a lot of anime shows that are very much well paused. Yeah, very effeminate. But that is more of a cultural divide. For instance, like, there's no contradiction for the Japanese in a big burly guy who's a master fighter who also writes poetry. Oops, sorry about that.
Well, like warrior poets are kind of a thing in Japan.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at. They have sort of a more feminine mindset to begin with. That's funny.
Another thing that I bring up, I think in their culture, the idea of like the whole action girl thing isn't as foreign, because they're like, it wasn't like that common, but there were female samurais.
Sure, and just kind of by nature of having such a small area and such a low population, they kind of had to historically. But what I was actually going to get at is something entirely different from culture. What we are the problem that we are facing as Westerners is, regardless of where it came from, the problem is we have been stripped of our identity.
Yes.
Right? No one has any inherent identity to themselves, and anything that they do sort of feel naturally like, okay, I'm a man, I'm a white, I'm a whatever. You are automatically knee-jerk told, don't think that. And I would like Luke to bring up this image that I sent him. This is from Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics. Now, this is an interesting phenomenon. We've all heard of the uncanny valley, right? But this is sort of the opposite effect. The more simplified a cartoon character's appearance is, or a face's appearance is, the less you see it as an other, and the more you see it as a reflection of your own emotions. And the sort of Japanese tradition of animation is much more symbolically based. And I believe, personally, this has a lot to do with the way their written language works. Their written language is not phonetic, right? It's what would be the word? Idiomatic. For instance, you have a symbol that means person, and you draw a box around that, and that means house, or building or whatever. And you see this reflected in anime because they don't draw what is literally happening on the screen. They have sort of inherent like cultural symbols that they've sort of use as a shorthand to inform you of what the character is feeling. And that
like
combined,
people fall down when they're embarrassed.
Yes, or the
sweat drop,
the sweat drop, the vein bulging on the head, the faces getting really big when they're surprised by something. And this is the same sort of thing you run into with Sonic the Hedgehog. You have these very expressive, very simple faces, and people who lack identity or who have trouble interpreting the emotions of others are just, excuse me, no, seriously, but like people who are really, really like spurgy, and who get hooked, like really, really invested in one thing or the other. That is why, yeah, there you go. That is why you see the sort of people who have no inherent identity sort of gravitate towards something like this that has a very distinct identity and is also easy to insert yourself into. This is just sort of my armchair psychologist sort of analysis of this phenomenon you're observing here. The people who are very headstrong and who are, like the traditional jocks on the football field or whatever, they're not going to listen when people say, "Hey, don't identify as a man." They're like, "What? That's stupid." You know, I'm obviously got, but it's the introverted, isolated, weird kids who are the good boy who listens to mommy, right? Those are the ones who are going to listen to all of these cultural signals telling them to stop, you know, when they say, you know, stop mansplaining, and they go, oh, okay, you know, and that sort of thing makes it very easy for these sorts of people to identify with something that has a very distinct identity. This is from this one place on the earth that's very different from where I am. You know, this is these big, I know exactly what these people are feeling, because here in the West, a woman can be like all up on you and then be like, I don't consent, you know, and you know this. This is just sort of, I'm spitballing this. I didn't have any larger point, but that's sort of my interpretation of this. But I don't know. What do you guys think that anime just kind of inherently targets, or not targets, but people who are susceptible to being taught to be submissive and stuff kind of latch onto things like this, or what?
Well, I would say there's part of that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, as a person who watched anime for his college life and actually was attracted to anime all the way back from Sailor Moon, I could say yes, that's pretty accurate. Because I was introverted, I was very quiet, and so when you say it that way, the expressions of anime or just cartoons in general is far more appealing to me than like real life. I mean, I guess maybe that's why the reason I liked cartoons more than real people.
Yeah, and that's always. I'm speaking mostly actually from personal experience as well, because that was something that really, you know, attracted me to these sorts of media as well. Now, I've not really been a consumer of anime per se for a very long time, but I have spent pretty much my entire adult life on 4chan and 8chan and the image board, so it's been there as sort of background radiation for me.
I would say, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just say, building on that, I think some of that has to do with the fact that a lot of anime is, in a sense, a power fantasy as well. You know, people are doing all kinds of things. Even normal people can do things that normal people in real life, you know, couldn't ever do, at least from what I've seen of it. And granted, I'm not the biggest fan of anime. I mean, I have started watching since it was on Netflix. I did start watching One Punch Man, which is pretty funny.
Fantastic anime.
I don't know. There's this one part where he's like getting beat up by this bad guy. He's like, man, I've made a mistake. This is a horrible thing. And he's thinking about the fact that he's not going to be able to get to go shopping or something like that. But anyway, so I mean, but I think, like I said, you know, I would kind of agree with you in the sense that as well, that a lot of anime again just is sort of like the power fantasy. I mean, again, you know, as someone on some video said, you know, every kid has tried to do the Goku, you know, blast, the Kamehameha or whatever.
Yep.
You know, and for people who maybe don't have a lot of influence or power in their own sphere, I can see them being very much attracted to that.
I think there's also the thing that, like, normally the women still act like women in anime, like almost always.
Yes.
It's kind of funny, like how Japan is, like, even in anime where there's like action girls, it's still very patriarchal. Like if you watch, has anyone here seen Girls in Panzer?
Only seen clips.
Okay, because in it they have tankery where they're like fighting in tanks, and it's something the government implemented to help women become better housewives. It's to teach them feminine grace so they can become better wives and mothers.
Okay, a blog post here for a minute. I've never watched that show, and I never can, and here's why. You guys know that I'm big on, you know, tabletop wargaming, and the sort of the people who are into that kind of stuff at the hobby stores and things are these old guys who are into, you know, nerdy stuff and historical models, and a lot of guys play World War II themed board, like tabletop games and stuff and all that. There was this guy, really, really old guy, who worked at the hobby store, and he was also like a complete weeaboo. I mean, like, he was full on like kawaii desune type guy, and it was so funny because he was just this like kindly Southern old man, and he just loved history and he loved all this stuff, and then just also, I love me some anime. It was so weird, and he was this sweet guy. He died last year. and this
Aw.
was his favorite show, and he always talked about it. And like we still use all of the models and stuff that he made as like terrain and stuff in our games and stuff. And God, I will never be able to watch this because I will just break down in manly tears. But anyway, I just thought that was an interesting anecdote. But yes, I think it's very cute. And that's the other thing is like there are shows about like they call them moe shows, where it's just sort of nice things happening to nice people for a few minutes. And I really, really, really enjoy those shows because, like, I honestly don't even know. It's just nice to watch. It's pleasant, you know, to watch a bunch of girls just talking to each other and acting feminine.
Oh yeah, the femininity aspect is something that absolutely comes out in Japanese anime.
Okay,
which
this is a picture of K-On! Hold on, Luke. Was this the first image that popped up when you searched moe?
Moe anime, yes.
Oh my God! But yes, K-On! is the like de facto example of that stuff.
Nice people doing nice things.
Yes. Well, the normal nomenclature that they use for it is cute girls doing cute things, but that's just part of it. Like the main thrust is like nice people just having a normal day. You know?
Why are they so shocked that they have their pictures taken?
There's one show in particular that got me into these sort of like cutesy shows, and it's called Non Biori, and it's you're probably not going to be able to spell that just by listening to it, but it is a show about these kids growing up in rural Japan, and they all live on farms, and there's like 5 people total in their schoolhouse, and they like go hiking in the woods and just do country things. And that's not wow, you actually found it. But and it was this surreal experience where I was watching kind of somewhere that felt like my hometown and how I grew up in a lot of ways. Although I was never this social, which I feel sad for, but maybe that's why I like these kind of shows so much, is I'm kind of like experiencing the nice things that didn't
kind of fantasy because the people in them have friends.
Hold on. That's really freaking depressing, but you just hit the nail on the head.
No, I was
Pastor. Yeah, I know. What Pastor Tom was saying a second ago was a lot of them are power fantasies. Some of them are social fantasies.
Yes, right.
Like there's nothing in Western media that a lonely person is going to look at and like be able to like be like, oh, this is just like I have, friends, aside from maybe Let's Play on YouTube, which also attracts a lot of lonely nerds, because like these shows kind of have the same appeal that those Let's Play shows have, which a lot of people talk about this as like the friend on the couch effect, I think is what they call it. Like you kind of feel like you're there with them, not necessarily that you're watching them.
Yeah, it's why people turn the TV on in the background.
It's why we're on this.
Yeah, except you can stare at it and zone out.
Right.
Well, see, I've heard people say that same thing about Friends.
Well, I think
you mean the TV show Friends?
Yeah, the TV show, that exact same thing. They will even say, "These are my friends."
Yeah.
Or again, I can just turn it on and just zone out, or it's like I'm there with them. I mean, I actually know someone who says these are my friends, like not in the weird sense, but I mean, like, so I mean, I don't know. I've heard people say that about Friends, like, because I mean, I think that was one of the reason why it was so popular.
Mm-hmm. Davis just sent me a message saying, I suspect that anime has a healthier non-Puritan relationship to sex, which would also be very attractive to the broken autists who are raised feminist. And you know what? You're right. Especially in Japanese, in Eastern cultures, and especially Japanese cultures, they're much more laid back about that kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just kind of, they don't try to mask the shape of the human form, I guess. Like they really stylize the faces and everything, so it's like very clear what emotions are being felt, but like the bodies of people are very realistically proportioned. Like and make the joke about tits now, but what I'm talking about is the level of stylization. You don't see like Western cartoons where they have noodle arms and stuff. At least not very much. Sometimes you'll have that.
No, I was just gonna make a joke. I always prefer the body types, like say the Dragon's Crown Sorceress. She tends to be pretty solid for me.
Solid. You mean thick?
Thick.
Yes.
Yes. That's how you're supposed to see. Yeah.
Yeah. THICC. But yeah, this is what I'm talking about here. That's no longer relatable to as much. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it's something you're looking at.
Well, I think on this topic, I think Anti-Dem did an article or talked about My Little Pony, and he said it appealed to so many people because they just seemed like nice girls, and modern women are just in general so awful that like it's just that's attractive to people.
And maybe that's the case. A lot of times in anime too, and this is something I want to bring up because it's very what's the word I'm looking for? Davis just made a reference to the scene in the original Dragon Ball where Goku says, "I don't want to see your dirty fanny," and she goes, "It isn't dirty." But that's a perfect example because in that Bulma is trying to like seduce this kid. You know, and he's like, I haven't hit puberty yet. I don't care. It's just treated. It's a joke. You know, it's not like, oh my god, I can't believe this perverted thing happened. It's like, somebody misunderstood, you know, the desires of a young, flipping back and forth between Adventure Time and Sailor Moon here. It's kind of like
Sailor Moon. Yeah,
the different stylizations are really interesting, and that's, you know what? Here's a good example of something. Sailor Moon is one of the most prominent examples of the magical girl genre, and that's an example of like female superheroes, basically.
Yes,
but they are still very feminine.
Yeah, extremely.
They don't just, you know, it's weird. Here in the West,
men with hair.
Exactly.
Right.
Here in the West, women are men with hair and men are defective women.
Pretty much.
Like that's basically what the programming is. And it's weird to me.
Yeah, I find in Japan like it's not related. There's kind of not a relation between women fighting and feminine versus masculine.
Exactly. But I did want to mention something that's very, very prominent over there, which is in their media, especially, which is lesbian relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not 100% clear on why. I have a couple ideas, but do any of you guys have any info on that?
Because it's hot.
Because they're perverts.
That was going to be my first guess. My first thing is like, okay, we want to do a romance show, but I want to draw like pretty girls.
I want people to watch it.
Well, I mean, what's better than one pair of big boobs? Two
pairs of big boobs.
Absolutely.
And that to me is much more, ironically enough, that is much more innocent than something like Steven Universe.
Oh, Steven
Universe is obviously attempting to impart this as a virtue to the viewer, you know. Whereas
homosexuality in Japanese stuff doesn't bother me as much for some reason.
Well, because you know they're not trying to advocate for it. They're just, it's like,
right.
Oh, hey,
they're not pushing a narrative.
What they're doing is saying this is something different because it's on the TV screen. Although we do have a pastor with us. Let's see what he has to say.
Well, no, I mean, just like, you know, and I think a good example, since I mentioned it, was in One Punch Man. You got this character called Putty Putty Princess, which is the super buff guy, but he's super gay. I'm sorry. It's just, but I mean, again, it's presented as a joke, though. Like the whole time, the character he's just funny. I mean, again, his name's you have to say it that way, Putty Putty Princess.
Right.
And
meanwhile, Steven Universe is an actually subversive thing because they are trying to instruct you that this is cool. This isn't even normal. It's cool. You should do this.
Right.
Oh, and like if you think something's wrong, you're bad.
Yeah. Just on the topic of the most feel-good, cute anime of all time, if you haven't, go watch Kimi no Todoke. I think is how you pronounce it. It's literally like the cutest thing ever made by a human.
All right.
I mean, again, yeah, I think that's one thing, you know, like you said, the fact that it's not feeling forced down the throats. It's not that, you know, again, they can have characters that are this way, and it's like they're just this way. They're you know, it's like they're not lifted up as the paragon of virtue or anything like that. In fact, they can even have some own, you know, legitimate issues. They can be a real character. The sexuality does not totally define the character. It is an aspect of the character, which is completely different from our perspective in the West. Whereas, you know, so many people will just the fact that they're homosexual or transgender or whatever just completely dominates everything of their identity.
I think we talked about it last week, but hold
on real quick. Luke, is this a picture of a dude in drag? Was that two guys in that picture?
Oh no, that's the anime that was referenced.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The subplot is the girl's because she's a shy girl, but people mistake her for the girl from Ring.
Oh, that's kind of amusing, actually. Never mind. But just because of what the topic of the conversation was, I was concerned for a second.
No,
you never know. Sometimes.
No, it is a girl.
That's okay. It's okay, fam. We're all anime girls on the inside.
Yeah, right. But you know, the fact that is a saying says a lot about how much this sort of media is made to be like empathized with, as opposed to just observed.
I think they also just don't take themselves nearly as seriously.
And they don't. Like, for example, on the what they call the Yuri relationships, which is lesbians. Yuri is just a word that means like lotus flower, because even when they're talking about like specific things in TV stories, they have to be poetic, right? One of my favorite shows right now has one of these things, and it's called Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, which is currently running. I think there's one more episode left in the season, but basically it's this like what is this?
Oh, it's sent to me by James.
Oh my god. But basically it's like there's a parallel dimension that's a fantasy world. A dragon gets mortally wounded and comes into our world, gets found by a drunk woman who like inadvertently like saves her life by pulling the sword out of her side, and then she like swears her oath of loyalty or like life debt kind of thing. And then because this drunken woman was rambling on about maids because she's a nerd about like she grew up loving like that kind of thing, you know, they have the whole otaku thing where people just pick their favorite thing and then nerd out about it. Anyway, she there it is, just shows up at her door one morning. It's like, hi, you said you wanted a maid. I'll be your maid. And she uses a magic spell to transform herself to like human size and human shape ish.
Oh, okay.
But she's like, oh, I love you. You saved my life. I'm gonna be yours forever. And she's like, but we're both girls. Whatever. But because it's already like the kind of the joke there is, she's just weird. Because she's from a completely different world. She's already sort of weird by having a crush on a human anyway, so it wouldn't make any difference at this point. But anyway, it's just one of those shows with very cute, nice things happening.
Well, it's like in Hyrule Warriors when they put Link Cal in, like the female version of Link. That didn't feel like a feminist thing to me.
No, and it wasn't.
It just felt like they were like doing it as like just something kind of...
Look at this. Funny. Oh my god, leave this here. Jelly bean face with a sausage smile. I am so sick of this. And these chiclet teeth and these noodle arms. Why is everything in the West got to be food shaped? God.
Food shaped?
Okay, there's something really important actually I wanted to say about anime. It is more unapologetically like celebrates Western culture than 90% of the stuff we have. No, it's true.
A lot of things that people love that are coming from Japan were highly influenced. I mean, by Western cultures or Western forms of entertainment.
Castlevania is like a big love letter to like medieval Catholicism.
Right. Yeah. And you want to talk about Western animation, the entirety of like Astro Boy and I think Tezuka was his name, was one of the first big anime guys. Originally, anime looked exactly like Disney cartoons because they just wanted to do that because they were like, "Oh, this is cool," you know.
But I mean, I think just with my limited experience, I mean, there's a clear distinction I see many times between when anime is really trying to say something versus when I think most of the time in a lot of the examples that we're talking about, to where it recognizes that it's just entertainment. It doesn't have to have a deeper meaning. It's just pure entertainment, but when they say we want to say something here, they allow all sides to speak freely. And the example that I can give with this is one that one of my college roommates, he forced me to watch because he's a big anime fan, but was Princess Mononoke, which I'm sure some people are going to say is overrated. But the thing that I like about it is that there's not really a clear villain in that. Every side is allowed to speak. The lady who is trying to tear down the forest, you understand where she's coming from. Same thing where you understand where the forest creatures are coming from. It's a genuine conflict. And again, they are allowing both sides to speak freely, and they are fair to both sides there. So when they actually do want to say something and address an issue, and this issue, the environment and taking care of humans versus taking care of our environment here, again, they're fair to both sides of the argument.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the nature of conflict in general as well.
Right. And they've not had this programming campaign on them, right? The stuff that is developed in anime has developed just because of what has happened within their own sphere. Not even necessarily within Japanese culture, but just within the guys who work on anime, right? Because they've not been tampered with, as much. I mean, clearly you've still got producers to appease, and you got to make money and all that. But it's I don't know. I think a big part of why it's so popular, not only with people who are disenfranchised in the West, but also with right wingers like us, because they do go out of their way to make things beautiful. I mean, like, just look at this one still frame. There's enough detail. It's like very simple color shading and everything, but there's enough detail there to really, get a feel for that you're standing in a forest or whatever.
Yeah. Well, going back to a point that you said earlier, why can't we have nice things? We were talking about BioWare. The point is this: once an institution, and this will go into anime, politics, business, gaming, anything, once an institution becomes converged, the way BioWare did, or the way so many of these authors, designers, the people that write Steven Universe, once you become converged, there's no going back, because those people will only write to serve a narrative, and that narrative cannot be questioned, right? That's
assuming
why
direct control.
Exactly, and that's why we turn to things like to anime for storytelling, to anime for art and femininity and all these things, because once convergence happens, you're not going to find it anymore. And that's why, if people ask you, well, are you going to boycott BioWare forever? And the answer is yes, I will, because I know, I have 100% certainty it is a converged company now. It is only going to serve the leftist narrative. The same way that Western cartoons, like the people that make Steven Universe, they're only going to serve that. That is the most hardcore SJW show I've seen in terms of cartoons, is Steven Universe. It's truly disgusting. And it doesn't matter how many people bitch and moan about it. It doesn't matter how many people boycott it. They would rather lose profits than change the narrative. They're not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
they'd rather not make money with Mass Effect Andromeda than make something like Mass Effect. Like, I actually think the first Mass Effect game was kind of right-wing in a lot of ways.
Especially Ashley was, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
and
Ashley
she wasn't written as a stereotype either, right? Because if you sided with her, there's this point where she sticks up for some alien on a ship or whatever, and you're like, well, I thought you hated aliens. She said, no. I just want...
There's a reason why I do.
Yeah. And by the way, I said I was going to do this in shifts, but I've already sent out a couple more invites, because I'm going to be honest, I really just don't want to kick any of you guys off, because you guys are just too much fun to talk with. So if it gets too crowded, I'll ask somebody to leave. But you guys are really great about not talking over each other. So
it's very beautiful. Thank you.
No problem.
And with that, we have dead air.
Yeah, well, I mean, oh gosh, do you really think that? Oh.
I need a moment.
Well, I've really enjoyed kicking.
Parker, how could you say something so uncouth?
Yeah, I know. All you senpais are noticing me. I love it. Thank you so much.
Someone actually said that to me the other day. So I added someone on Facebook. They're like, Argent Senpai noticed me, and I was like, oh. It was very touching, and I say that completely unironically.
Yeah.
Okay, since we've talked really philosophically about anime, let's talk about something that made me really freaking mad. Okay. Here we go. You know what? Hold that thought. Actually, I've got some popcorn downstairs. I'm gonna grab my popcorn before I get started on this. I'll be right back.
Well, I gotta say, like, one thing that, talking about things that are kind of like presenting more, I guess, right wing ideas, it surprised me. Like, it's been a while since I had seen it, but I went back and watched some of the Lord of the Rings movies, especially in like some of the extended stuff. It's a lot more right wing than I expected.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, like, did you see Aragorn's face when he sees the sword, like with the Arwen chick going into battle? Like, it is disgust. He is like, I can't believe you're doing this. Like, he is not like happy that she's doing that at all.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Like, I mean, again, they do that whole thing where she goes into it and fine, but I mean, like, he's arguably one of the main protagonists, and he's just like, he's not okay with that. And again, I mean, just the men, just the brotherhood that you see there, and the fact that again, they don't have to be gay or anything like that. It's just that they're friends. It's like, I was watching, I was like, this is actually really enjoyable. I didn't realize how much I could actually enjoy this now.
It irritates me that you can't have close male friends in anything without it being considered gay. Like that Frodo and Sam have to be, they can't just be brothers, they can't just be best friends.
Right. No, that's frustrating. Gay. Same thing for like Kirk and Spock. They have to be gay. They can't just be friends. There's not actual brotherhood anymore.
And it's insidious the way that the left has used this in our modern society. I mean, like I hang out, like there's a guy that I go to school with, and he and I, like, my 1L year. Okay, your first year in law school is really, really intense. It is awful. It is ball-bustingly, back-breakingly awful, right? And so there's a dude that I studied with my entire first year. Okay, and we were through all this shit together. Come 2L year, now everybody knows that he and I studied together, and everyone's like, "Oh, you have a special bromance." A bromance. It's like that. Labeling something like that a bromance is a specifically attacking it to making it feminine and gay, and that's just one of those things you deal with in everyday society to break down male bonds.
Yeah, I mean, again, my brother-in-law was a lawyer, and you're right. You have to have those relationships in order to survive, because he was telling me it's very, very strenuous. Especially, he had a lot of people that he was also got very close to and studying for the bar. Right. Once he graduated, it's just basic. If you're going to make it, you have to do that.
Right. And everybody else that's not in your group basically is cutthroat. They are trying to step on you because everything's right on the curve. Even the bar is. Some of you have to fail, and the rest of you will survive, essentially. Mm. So you learn who you can trust real quick.
So, I'm here. Do we have Undertow back yet?
No, he's still getting popcorn.
I was gonna say that Davis and James have joined us. So welcome to the show. Who's your waifu?
Space Dog. Wait, what?
Oh, wait, whoa!
Am I getting a little bit? You got a flag, folks. All right, you know what? I'm just gonna toss in I'm gonna defend your Animu for you, Undertow.
Oh boy!
And I'm also gonna explain what I mean when I say that Data is actually an Aspie. Now, of course, he's not actually a damned Aspie. I am pointing out.
That got to you.
I am pointing out that the writers of Star Trek: The Next Generation are so incompetent they can't write an android; they can only write an Aspie.
And like a true author.
And
applaud you, my man.
And the difference between Tiny Tina and what's that Dragon Ball Z girl that's always flirting with Goku?
Bulma?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I never actually watched the show. I just researched.
The one with the blue hair?
Sure.
Yeah, there's Bulma.
All right, now, when you get some Westerner reviewing the show, they say it's creepy or whatever, it's pedophilic. No, actually, it's not. It's not at all. Whereas Tiny Tina, even though in canon she's 12 or whatever, she is speaking, like this author, Mr. Cuck himself, is trying to write a child, but what he's writing is a 24-year-old woman who is a regressed pedophile who will eagerly sit at the kids' table at Thanksgiving dinner and then start talking about anal sex to your 8-year-old nephew after dinner. So Tiny Tina creeps the shit out of me, whereas the blue-haired girl fake flirting with Goku to try and get something out. Like, she's a cunt. That's the point. And you've got the crazy grandfather.
Well, it's why she ended up marrying Vegeta, because they're both dicks.
Yeah,
right. and Vegeta is the alpha.
Can I just add as a fun point? It's especially growing up, especially when you get the types of Davis Arini, when you get the analytical points of view on old things like anime and cartoons, comics, video games. Davis Arini essentially tears apart your comic book views and essentially fucking. The only way to describe it is he's basically poured lighter fluid all over Dragon Ball Z and lit it on fire.
No, he's defending it. What are you talking about?
No, it's Marvel. It's the Marvel universe. I'm going to pour liquid bleach into.
Yeah,
I was gonna
it's
say-
relevant towards Dragon Ball Z because he has no emotional attachment to it.
Well,
I don't either.
I mean, he holds it in no reverence. Which I mean, again, it's not a problem. I'm just saying, like this. The thing is, that's the difference between someone who enjoys the show versus someone who's just kind of, would have a passing interest. They don't hold it in the same reverence.
Yeah. I mean, I've never watched the show, but yeah, I mean, if you could find me a girl who's a natural turquoise like that, hey, call me. Just saying.
But you have to become genocidal.
I actually learned everything I know about Dragon Ball Z. I learned from Sexual Lobsters parody series.
Yeah, that happened to me once.
Please say that's a YouTube person.
I have no idea what
yes,
that
that-
means. Oh, okay. Okay.
You all need to subscribe to Sexual Lobster. It's very, very, very masculine and
I don't
manly.
subscribe to it, I live it.
Even women have to. You know what? Sexual Lobster is like the answer to the anime fandom that doesn't understand. Here's the issue with the anime fandom: is that these.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but the way you said that was just you, and I love it.
the execution is just
the autistic weirdos.
it's a really esque.
They don't understand what they're watching, and they actually think that the 2D waifu with the exaggerated face is what a real woman is. They don't understand it's a story, a metaphor.
3D women are degeneracy.
Thing is, with how Davis has put this stuff, I actually want a Davis quote to be my epitaph.
So what Davis, what you're describing here are the guys who actually like Sword Art Online.
I like Sword Art Online.
Oh, come on.
You're out of here, RG. I'm sorry. You're getting fit.
What's
You're
so
getting
bad
kicked.
about it?
What's so
And
good
let me
about
just say, because this has been weighing on my chest for 45 minutes now.
Oh, let it out.
Borderlands 2 is the worst game I ever played.
Thank you.
And 6 million guns? You know what? The guns are so damn tedious. Each time you pick one up, you have to spend 5 minutes trying to estimate if it does more damage per second. So I actually resolved that I'm only going to pick up loot every 5th mission.
Mm. Yeah.
I actually forced myself to finish that atrocious game.
Oh yeah, as a boring point, it's basically one gun reskinned a fucking 1,000 dozen times. There's no unique difference.
One does ice damage, and the other does fire damage, and the other one does +3, and the other one does 3 times per
Do you know
second.
what, Randy?
That would actually be interesting if you had like a Pokemon system where like certain things work better against certain stuff, but it's so minuscule that it doesn't make that much of a difference.
Can I say as a tangential point, Randy Pitchford burning in a fucking pyre is actually quite interesting, just because I'm an Aliens fan and fuck him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was a
and-
travesty to Colonial Marines.
And
Oh,
could I
yeah,
point out as
Travis.
well that the white male protagonist of Borderlands 2, like one of the 4, but like the guy that you're obviously going to play because he's the most handsome, is bisexual.
Cool.
Is he?
Sounds
Is he?
kinky.
Of course he is. Why wouldn't he's also divorced? He's divorced, bisexual, and the jokes everyone's making about me with Space Dog is actually applies to his stupid turret gun. No, that thing is a fleshlight in one end.
Oh,
So all of a sudden, the mind of Anthony Birch makes a lot of sense. Just for this game. Just
I will say this because I actually kind of like Borderlands 2. It
You
does
like
have a
Sword
lot
Art
of
Online, you like Borderlands. Why do we have you on here, Arjun?
I'm the counterpoint. I like the stuff that's.
You're playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, you're meant to agree with us.
Well, I'm playing Dark Souls.
Yeah,
3.
how dare you have a different opinion? Shun the non-believer.
But
I'm playing Dark Souls 3 as we're talking. Is that another one on the list?
No, actually, Dark Souls 3 I think is pretty okay. No, we're just giving you a hard time. Go ahead and say what you wanted.
I'm the counterpoint on that one.
Sorry, counterpoint on what?
I don't like Dark Souls.
I can agree with him because I've got good
I
taste.
prefer
in them.
Dragon's Dog.
I had a big argument with Pastor Tom about this on his channel. Go subscribe to Pastor Tom's channel if you want to hear it.
Yeah.
I actually completely understand why. Like, I don't have an issue with people not liking it. It is the definition of niche. It's like if people don't like Shin Megami Tensei games, that's also the definition of niche. So,
I mean, it's the series that I most want to. I mean, again, it's the series that I most want to like, but just don't.
Can I just say, oh, fair enough. You carry on, Arjun.
Listen, if you can pronounce Shin Megami Tensei, you're the intended audience.
Well, you've probably got your virginity intact.
That Shin Megami Tensei game.
I would actually say I'd agree with Pastor Tom. I don't like the Dark Souls games, but maybe that's because I'd rather play something else.
It's the definition of niche. You either like them or you don't.
This is interesting though, because it's a very slow, pensive sort of gameplay,
which is why I don't like it.
Right, and James, one of your favorite games right now is Titanfall 2, which is a very fast-paced game.
Hate. I hate. Really
No, I like it now. I've played it. I followed your advice. I gave it a few more tries, and I like it. You weren't listening to the show. If you're not going to listen, I'm going to kick you out of class, kid.
I will also say the Souls games have the worst fan base. Their fan base is absolute cancer.
Well, they've got the worst fan base, but they've also got the worst haters. Artificial difficulty.
Yes.
You're a pleb. Go play.
There is like, I don't know. There is some artificial difficulty.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sorry.
Mostly in 2. 2 is nothing but artificial difficulty.
I like 2. I'm like the only person who likes 2.
You like everything?
No, there's a lot of things I hate. I just like a bunch of stuff that the other people don't.
Okay.
Did you spend $400 to buy a PS4 to buy this fantastic game called Bloodborne?
Oh, are you kidding? I'm PC Master Race.
That's good. I would have executed you on your spot if you did that.
All right,
PC games.
Cutting Arjun off. Arjun, you never got to your point. What was it?
Yeah, I don't think any of us got to that point.
Which point?
It was the point about Dark Souls with I was going to say Uncle Tom. I meant Tom Collett.
Uncle Tom.
Okay, I think he was meant to make a point about Tom Collins, and then Undertow was meant to talk about a point about Titanfall.
Who's Tom Collins?
Pastor Tom. Okay, I think I doxed Tom by accident. Sorry.
Nice work, you stupid drunk Brit bong. Now he's going to have to go into hiding and couch surf across America like Zoe Quinn.
Actually, I don't really care. I mean,
if
you're going to come, though, all right, here's the thing. If you want to come and kill me, just come to church first, please. I mean,
James, you are literally raping him right now.
Well, I actually technically didn't even pronounce his name right, so you probably won't get the spelling right with my pronunciation. You missed a U's out because of English.
Great. So now you've revealed that it's an unusual spelling. Thanks. Just don't do me anything.
Don't worry, Pastor Tom. I would never tell them that your address is.
My God.
Can you put out your mother's maiden name while we do this?
All right, Davis, I cut you off a second ago. What were you going to say?
I was just saying, because the other thing, you're talking about Mass Effect, and, like the damn thing's become a complete disappointment. I was just wondering, have you ever heard of, there's this game series, I think you'd really like it. It's a similar type of universe with really symbolic aliens. It's called Warhammer 40K. You ever heard of it?
Yes, I have. Yes, and I have. And by the way, tonight I need to do my full explanation of the next faction in 40K, which I missed last week because I wasn't here.
Who is the next faction?
My balls are aching in anticipation.
What's that?
I'm really anticipating for this.
Okay.
This
is going to be the best one because it's all about the biggest and the strongest.
Oh, is it the
orcs?
Maybe I'm alone. I always hated the orcs. I always found them just really obnoxious.
Arjun, how are you, my friend?
God almighty.
How are you even my friend?
I don't know. I just find them really annoying.
Do you like the Eldar?
They remind me of Hamilton because there's all these degenerates in Hamilton that just kind of grow out of the sidewalk. These helpless people and whatnot. And there's just an understanding with the police that you can, if these people cause you trouble, you can beat them up, make them bleed from the forehead, and the cops just tip their hat at you. So that's how I'm such a badass these days. Unfortunately, Christopher Cantwell didn't know that about Hamilton, and he dated one of the creatures that grew up out of the sidewalk.
Is it as shitty as Toronto?
Rest in pepperoni.
So what Davis is referring to, I'm going to go ahead and launch into my explanation if you guys don't mind.
Yeah.
This is
For
just
sure, fucking shame.
I guess it is tonight. Actually, you know what? Keep that picture up for a second, Luke. I've got a full Google Drive folder of orc pictures for you.
From Hamilton?
No, no, from Warhammer 40K. Let me see. Get shareable link. There we go.
Can I just interject and say, is there any way for Luke to play the orc song?
Oh yes, do that.
If
Do
you
that
can.
while I'm talking. Do it like at a low volume. Just go on YouTube and search for the orc song.
There's something I can still say. Are there orc waifus?
No.
You
Fuck,
don't want-
okay, fuck
there
you.
are
Only if you go to
You-
DeviantArt.
You
No.
don't want orc waifus.
I mean, you got Eldar waifus. you
There
got
was
human
once
waifus.
a Blood Bowl orc cheerleader, and we will never speak of it again.
Look,
Okay, I gotta look this shit up.
look. If you were to fucking orc waifu, the condom would be made out of Kevlar. You don't want to deal with such a woman.
You
Uh,
kidding
that
me?
sounds
The condom would be made out of sandpaper.
The orc tickler.
Oh god.
Oh,
Anyway.
You'll find plenty of orc waifus in
Oh,
orc
you know what's
waifus.
kind of interesting? Just before we get into this, Tolkien had a lot of struggle when he was making the orcs because he didn't like the idea of making a race that was inherently evil and bound for damnation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why it's never really established in Lord of the Rings where orcs come from.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they
I
come
They
from
were
the
like potatoes and they came out of the ground.
That's
Yeah.
only in the movie, I think.
Well, that's it, actually in Tolkien's original version of orcs. They were an industrial people. They used like tanks and stuff. It was like World War. It was even more directly based on his World War I experiences.
Yeah, from the that's why they come out of the mud and the trenches and all that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they picked that element back up for the version of orcs in 40K here. So in 40K, they're spelled with a K instead of a C. That way they can trademark it.
So is it like from Mortal Kombat then? They're like the combat orcs?
No. What?
Oh.
Well, because they spelled Mortal Kombat with a K.
No,
Yeah,
and
I
there's
get it.
like the crypt. It's like KRPT or what? Or I
What
don't
are you
know.
talking about?
No, just everything in Mortal Kombat that has a C, they instead put a K in. Like crypt is spelled with a K,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like
Okay.
collection is spelled with a K.
Okay.
To be fair, they do that in Donkey Kong as well.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, speaking of orcs, you mind if I toss something out there? Vox Day's book, A Throne of Bones. There's actually like theological debates over whether or not the goblinoids have souls.
Huh. That's pretty
Do
cool.
they? Can you spoiler it?
So
It really,
I haven't
it
finished
really
the book,
pleases me,
but-
Davis, that you read Vox Day. I was hoping to hear that.
it's great. I haven't finished it because it's a damn ebook, and I hate ebooks. I need to get the physical version. But it's like it's sort of like Game of Thrones without all the nihilism and disgusting sexuality.
And soft dicks.
There you go.
I hate to watch South Park, but South Park sums up George R.R. Martin's work pretty well, basically.
My
So
favorite
anyway.
one is the picture of him going, I'm not saying all men must die, but they must.
Funny thing is, I know Undertow might be into them, but 4chan's TV memes, they were recently taking the piss out of George R.R. Martin because he himself decided to take the piss out of J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings for not being realistic, and his example was things like taxes. So some of the quotable memes Undertow might get was, looks like tax returns are back on the menu, boys.
So like there's roads in J.R.R. Tolkien, but there's no taxes. How could this be?
Yeah.
How will we build the
You
road?
you guys are kind of missing. You guys are kind of missing the joke here. They just take a line from Lord of the Rings.
No, I get the joke. That was kind of my joke.
So anyway, the orcs. in 40K, I mentioned 2 weeks ago when I last did this, just a quick recap, the Eldar were created by an ancient race called the Old Ones to be servants. The Orcs were a project by these guys to create a warrior race, but the Old Ones were wiped out like halfway through the project, so the Orcs are not really done. What the Orcs are, they are fungus. Yes, you heard right. They are fungus. All their spores land on the ground, and then they basically have a little ecosystem that forms, and they pop out of the ground one by one. You have the goblins, who are called Grots or Gretchen. You have the squigs, which are just little goofy monster things that can be, there's all kinds of different ones for different uses. Some of them are called eaten squigs, and they're just livestock that they use. There's a squig on that guy's shoulder right there. Just that's a pet squig. Very ferocious little beasties. But anyway, the Orcs were based off of English football hooligans. So they all speak with Chav accents.
So they're basically Hamiltonians.
Basically.
I can attest to that.
and they all speak with Chav accents, and they want nothing more than fighting. Not killing necessarily, just fighting. They love things that are loud. They love going fast. They love shooting lots of bullets, and they love hitting people with sharp objects or big sticks. Because since they are a fungus, when they are killed or sliced open by a sword or shot open with bullets, it scatters their spores everywhere. So that is how they reproduce. So
also like Hamiltonians.
So the Orcs are like the only race in 40K that is not like dark in any way.
Melancholic?
Not melancholic. They are goofy, they are fun, and they are always having a great time. They have a term for when a bunch of them get together. You know how you have like a flock of birds or a pod of dolphins. When a bunch of orcs get together, it's called a wah. That's a W with at least 3 A's, GH, and then as many exclamation points as will fit on whatever you're writing on. The orcs are not tied into the psychic powers of the warp in the same way as the other races are. Like humans have naturally occurring psychers. The Eldar were all engineered to have a connection to the warp, but the orcs were being used, or being created, I should say, when the old ones were fighting against some creatures that were starting to come out of the warp. So they gave them their own sort of psychic field. This is just called Wa energy.
Yep.
And basically, the more orcs are together in one place, the more their collective beliefs have an effect on the world around them. They kind of have an innate understanding of technology, so they can slam together guns and trucks and engines and that sort of thing. But the thing is, they're not very good at building them. However, because they believe that the things they have built will work, they do.
I mean, can I just interject? They sound like 4chan users. Are you sure you're not going on the Encyclopedia Dramatica forum to describe this species?
That's the thing. That's the thing. The orcs are basically meme magic made real. They love silly hats, as you can see from this guy. The ones who are captains of spaceships and stuff, they always refer to themselves as captains, spelled with a K. And they always talk like 1700s pirates. Like instead of saying "wah," they say "war." So they just build stuff out of scrap metal. They run people over for fun. They're always fighting each other unless they can get one of them big enough to rally everybody together and go on a war, or a wah, as they call it. So the more an orc succeeds, the more he grows. And so the better they are at surviving fights, literally the bigger they get. So in orc society, might actually does make right, because the bigger they get, the smarter they get, and the more cunning they are. The orcs have two deities in their belief system, Gork and Mork. Now, Gork and Mork are pretty much identical, except for this. One of them is brutally cunning, and the other one is cunningly brutal. What that is to say is one of them will hit you really hard when you're not expecting it, right? Brutally cunning. The other one will hit you twice as hard when you are expecting it. That's being cunningly brutal. The only problem is Gork and Mork are always wrestling each other, and they never separate long enough for anyone to tell which one is which. And there have been entire holy wars fought over which one is which. And no one is really sure what side they're fighting on when these things break out. Anyway, so when the orc spores land on a planet, the first thing that pops up is some general fungus, mushrooms and molds and that sort of stuff. After a while, though, some little tiny goblin things called snotlings will pop out, followed thereafter by the squigs, which are basically just orcoid animals. Yeah, again, you can see a squig in the bottom right corner of this picture on a leash. And the snotlings are sort of instinctively programmed to tend to the squigs and maintain the fungus and stuff so that there's a little bit of food built up for the next things to pop up, which are the goblins, the grots. They look pretty much the same as the snotlings, but they're bigger and smarter. And then once the grots have sort of started tending to things and set up a few encampments or whatever, then the fully fledged orcs start popping out of the ground, and they just sort of kick everybody else around. Now, the grots are marginally smarter than the orcs, but they're really, really conniving and thieving and just, dicks. So they get kicked around a lot, and the big orcs say, "Oh, I'm the boss. I'm in charge. You gotta do what I say." They have entire cores of orcs dedicated to just being slavers to make the grots do the work that the orcs don't want to do. Because the orcs don't want to work, they want to fight. You have what are called the odd boys, which are some orcs are genetically predisposed to certain disciplines. The mech boys are engineers. They build things. They, hammer plates of scrap metal together and say, "Yeah, this is a gun. This is a shooter." And as I previously mentioned, orcs, their guns work in their hands, but when a human picks it up and tries to fire it, it doesn't work, because it's just like a tube with a couple pieces of metal stuck to it. They understand the concept of ammunition and stuff, so they still have to have bullets. But it's not just like an orc says, "This stick is a laser now," but they have to have a whole bunch of them together who also believe that. And unfortunately, the orcs are never smart enough to figure out that they have this effect on things, so they never use that to their advantage. For instance, there's something that's called orky color theory. The orcs have actually a lot of superstitions about colors. For instance, the red ones go faster, which is to say any vehicle that is painted red actually does in fact move faster. And this is reflected in the game rules. If you paint your model red and you spend a couple of points, you actually get an extra inch of movement during a certain movement for your vehicles. So anyway, so you have the mech boys are engineers, the pain boys are doctors, and they're kind of like mad scientists too. They love just chopping arms off and sticking other things on and seeing what'll happen, stitching a bunch of people together and seeing if they can all stand up straight. There's the weird boys. Those are the orc version of psychers, and they don't pull from the warp. They pull from the energy of all the other orcs around them, and they have a tendency for their heads to explode when they get too excited. But other than that, they're really great on the tabletop. They have one attack called the Crunch, which is where the fist or foot of Gork and or Mork comes out of the sky and just smushes things, which is a lot of fun. But anyway, yeah, the orcs when they go on a warpath, it's somewhere between a crusade and a pub crawl, because these orcs are they're having the time of their lives, which is a good thing because most of them are going to die. The orcs are second only to the Imperial Guard as far as numbers goes, and they just run screaming at the enemy, just yelling "wah" as loud as they can, and trying to get some kills. That's basically all there is to it.
So they're basically third worlders with cell phones and uranium.
Yeah, kind of. And they are tons of fun, and I love them.
Let me ask you, is there a good video game in this universe? Because I tried to play this one that was...
Space Marine?
It was like a knockoff of that Grumble and Growl versus the Aliens whatever
Gears of War.
bullshit.
Yeah,
Gears
it's
of
pretty
War,
much
that's it.
it's pretty much like Gears of War.
I
That
made it
game
halfway
is-
through that game before it got too tedious.
Yeah, it's kind of just okay. It gets a lot better towards the end. I'll say that, but it's nothing really spectacular. I really enjoy it because I like seeing all this universe that I'm so well versed in. I'm really like seeing it in motion because it's normally static images or models on a table.
Yeah,
Well,
there's
I love
never
the
been a
universe. I
AAA
love
game.
the lore. And why the hell haven't they made an RTS of this?
They have.
Oh, they have.
It's called Dawn
Absolutely.
of War, and there's Dawn of War 2, and Dawn of War 3 is coming out in a few months.
Are they any
Yeah.
good?
Yeah, they're great.
Yes.
They're fantastic. Even. How have you not heard
one
of them?
one is better than 2, but 2 has an actual story mode that's pretty decent. You may like that.
Mhm. Oh yeah, two has a story mode where the orc campaign in 2, literally the orcs just these freebooters, which are the pirates, they show up on this planet, and one of the Inquisition from the Imperium is like, "Orc, I know that you're here for loot. If you help me do XYZ, I will give you some." And the orc just cuts her off. He's like, "I like your hat." What? I want that hat. No, this is a holy relic of the Inquisition. I'm gonna get your hat, lady. And the end of cutscene of the game is him sneaking up on her, punching her out, taking her hat. It's after he leads this entire crusade across this planet. He's like, "Well, at least this wasn't a complete loss." And sticks the hat on one of the spikes on his armor like a coat rack. And then he walks off back to his ship, and all the orcs get on the ship, and they're going up into space. He says, "Prepare for teleporting, Mr. Nailbrain." And they just fly off. It's freaking great. Oh, I forgot to mention, the orc's teeth grow back like a shark's. So the orc currency is teeth. Because any orc that's tough enough to knock the teeth out of another orc has earned those teeth. It also keeps inflation down because after a few years, the teeth rot away to nothing and decay and, go away. And in fact, there are several different clans that have sort of different things going on. But the ones that I use on the table are the Bad Moons. They're the richest orcs because their teeth grow the fastest.
Mm-hmm.
But you can hire the orcs as mercenaries because, again, they're like the least judgmental people in the 40K universe. If you lead them to a good fight, you're their friend. In fact, in the orc language, the glyph that means favorite enemy is the same glyph for friend.
But two things you haven't mentioned with that point.
But I was gonna let me finish real quick.
Sure.
When you hire orc mercenaries, you can't pay them in money because they don't care about gold or whatever, right? Generally, though, you can pay them in hats or guns. They like both of those.
They're Team Fortress 2 characters. Nice.
Basically. Yeah, that's that.
Yep.
But no, you were saying talking about teeth and actual currency. I'm just thinking, do these characters understand the non-aggression principle, and how do they build for the roads they will eventually have to create?
How do we build the roads? We have the grots do it. That's grot work.
I
Quit
would pay
mucking
money
about, you
to
kid.
see a cartoon of Stefan Molyneux arguing with the orcs. Stefan Molyneux, but that'd be hilarious.
And then the
Just $1 fucking dollar. Just $1 fucking dollar. You could build this road.
Then the orc leans over to like the other orc next to him. Is like, "What the zog is this kid talking about?"
That's not an argument.
You
Not even wearing a hat.
Wait, you don't beat your kids, you do? It's fucking terrible.
Kids, what are kids? Like
So would you be willing to
The
say
orcs
that
actually-
I'm choking on my
interesting.
wine.
I believe I read somewhere that the orcs don't actually target women and children very often, like unless they're the last ones left, because it's like the squishy ones and the Humy grots don't look like a good fight.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so there you go.
So I was going to
Yeah,
make a
I mean,
callback to earlier, unless we got more to say about the orcs.
Nope, that's pretty much it.
Orcs.
I was going to say that I've been thinking with the, QQ did this video a while back on how, because Gamergate face planted, what happened was Gamergate was like the reason that we cared about games journalism and the reason that we cared about indie games is because, you were saying, where the hell are the RPGs? We were actually getting good games out of the indie market, whereas we just get generic McShooter out of the AAA. And then the SJWs took over the indie market. The SJWs took over games journalism to make sure their games got promoted. And now they've sold out the indie market to the AAA developers, and there is no indie market anymore. And so, and then I'm thinking about Styx Hexenhammer has been talking about the censorship going on with YouTube now. And his big point is like, yeah, right now they're censoring the right. But eventually they're going to shut down the left as well. And they're going to shut down the gaming channels because they want television. They want Hollywood. They don't want independent voices. And I think we made a big tactical error with the SJWs thinking that they actually gave a shit about feminism or whatever nonsense. No, it's that they're obsequious followers. They're regressed children that just want to do whatever daddy government or mummy corporation tells them to do. And so that's really what's going on there.
Do you think they do that just to avoid emotional pain? Is that why they just follow?
I think it's because they've never developed a sense of self. They've never
lack of identity.
Exactly. Your identity comes from you come from this background, and yet you are separated from your parents. You have boundaries. You have rules. You haven't been raised by helicopter parents that are always obsessing over your little poopies that you make. You've actually rebelled a little bit, but you also appreciate your ancestry. You have healthy boundaries. You become an individual. These SJWs are just still children looking for acceptance.
Yeah.
Well, I would also say I think there's a certain sense to where they want to have a certain sense of self-righteousness as well. They want to have this feeling that they are doing something for a greater good, but it ultimately ends up being self-centered because they don't want to actually do a greater good. They just want to feel like they're doing a greater good.
They want to
Old-fashioned
cosplay.
Pharisees.
They want to dress up like they're doing a greater good. Social justice paladin. It's it's childish cosplaying. It's very much where it's a regressed childish culture. And this is everywhere. Increasingly people are very childish.
Yeah, and why set out to save the world when you can virtue signal and say you're doing it? Yeah.
Right. Again, you feel like you're doing something good, but you're not actually doing anything good. I mean, that's just the same thing with a lot of these crises, And again, like a lot of the environmental stuff, it doesn't really do much of anything. It doesn't really change much of anything, but everyone can, again, pat themselves on the back and feel like they've actually done something that makes a difference.
Right.
They got a gold star. They're not after, it's the difference. Like when you get older, you don't want to get a gold star from your teacher saying you did a good job. You want to do something that you're happy with.
Right.
They
But
just
they
want the gold star.
They haven't moved on to the internalization of the self. It's all external. They need constant validation because they're just empty inside.
And this is why I point out the regressed pedophilic aspects of it all, is because they're now like one of the terrible things to deal with in therapy and psychological circles is retards that are adults, because the retard still it has an adult sex drive, but they have the emotional maturity of an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And it's just a very difficult thing for institutions to deal with. Like, what the hell are you supposed to do? You don't want the retards having kids. You don't want them getting into emotionally abusive relationships because they can't handle the emotions connected to sex. But they have they have the sex drive that the child doesn't. Well, these SJWs are basically retards. They are very regressed, and this is, yeah, you get some very, like, if you look at Steven Universe, like the pedophilic themes through that are so damned creepy.
Oh, it's disgusting.
It's anti-bad touch. You know, they're constantly they're engaged in preternatural lesbianic sexual activities.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you see this in their thinking and reasoning. They're very infantile in their reasoning. You know, it's this thing of, you know, there can't be categories. You can't make proper distinctions. It's if you allow for one thing, you have to allow that for absolutely everything else. Again, the reality that there are different categories because things are different just does not compute with them.
Yeah, it's the complete lack of an objective or an absolute truth. It doesn't exist. You can't hold people to any standard.
And again, like, you think of children will dress up in all sorts of outfits, okay? Little boys will walk around in their mummy's heels because it's funny, and girls will dress up. That's what kids do. They experiment with all these different roles in life to try and understand the roles so that they can figure out what it means to become whatever they become.
Right.
But these SJWs are still in this phase. It's like, oh, well, I'm feeling trans today. I'm presenting as very masculine today.
Yeah, yeah. That makes a lot of sense with those people who are like, oh, I feel like we're in girl clothes today. Oh, I feel like we're in boy clothes today. You know? It's very telling that they always say boy and girl and not man and woman as well.
Right. Well, and your identity is not your hat. And that's where the SJWs are wrong, essentially, because, you know, I'm not Catholic one day and I'm alt-right another day, and another day I'm, you know, in legal mode. No, it's, you are the sum of all these things. You are living all those experiences at the same time, and because you have a sense of boundary and who you are, you have a self. They lack that, and so that's why they will simply swap their identities like they swap hats.
Yeah, I was saying to my girlfriend, you know, like, back when I was 21, if they had Twitter back then, and thank God they didn't, you know, I would have had, like, my Twitter bio would have said, I'm dark and brooding and I patrol the streets at night, or something idiotic like that, right?
Right, Batman.
The thing is, I don't need to put that on my Twitter bio because that's just what I am. You know, like, you look at me, I'm like, oh, fuck, that guy's scary. I'd better not piss him off. You know, I don't need to wear an outfit because I am my outfit at this point. And that's a development process. Well, I was going to say it's a development process everybody goes through, but the problem is people aren't going through that process anymore.
Right. Clearly,
I'd say that's not just limited to SJWs. I think that's extended even beyond it. You know, even if they're not necessarily SJW, they're still very infantile in their thinking.
There's an interesting quote by Winston Churchill. I'm going to paraphrase it because I can't remember it to a T, but it's basically, when you're 20 at that age, if you have a heart, you're usually liberal, but when you're 40, you're usually conservative because you do have a mind.
You kind of mangled that, but yeah.
I think it's if you're when you're 20, if you're not a liberal, you don't have a heart. If when you're 30 and you're not a conservative, you don't have a brain.
There it is.
Right.
Apologies.
It's your country's quote. Get it right.
I'm sorry.
America saves the day once
again. America saves the day. Go back to your rainy socialist island.
Yeah, and I'll tell you again. It's talking with my girlfriend about this because, like, I went up doing this wiki walk through various, like, this person quoted me and who they quoted them, and then I'm down the rabbit hole into these weird anime accounts that post nothing but animated sexy gifs from I don't know, from animus.
Yeah, that's a bad area to be.
And like, who doesn't want to see a pair of jiggling cartoon boobies on the screen? But yeah, I'm looking through.
Yeah.
That's your effort at.
I'm looking through it, and I just start thinking, like, wait a minute. Okay, like, one pair was nice, but I'm looking at just the pattern of all of these images, and I'm starting to think, wait, this is not what a woman looks like. This is like,
that's definitely your epitaph.
It's like a 2D. Like, if you have a 3D image of, like, you have a 3D object and you can take a 2D slice of it. You know, it's like the anime waifu is this 2D slice of a woman. Okay, but there's all these other elements to what a real woman is, and they're just completely ignoring them.
Yeah.
Luke, stop undermining his amazing point with this really amazing gif.
I don't even know what the.
Oh god.
I'm saying if there's a package down there, it's not what a woman looks
It's
like.
Catholicism, blow the fuck out. Calvinism 1. Pope 0.
I've been drinking since noon, for Christ's sakes, and I'm the
Oh,
soberest
man.
one here.
Oh man.
I can't breathe.
Okay. So you know what? I'm gonna disagree with Matt Forney that anime's the problem. I'm gonna say fucking Star Trek is the problem. Yeah,
Oh,
boy, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
I was
This
saying
one I
that-
might agree with you on. I might agree with you on this one though. Go for it.
Go for it.
Gene Roddenberry is a gamma male,
Yeah.
He's a commie.
Yes.
and
Yes,
Captain
yes.
Kirk is not a ladies' man. Captain Kirk is what Gene Roddenberry thinks the universe should be like for him. Okay, in Gene Roddenberry's mind, he is Captain Kirk, and women just don't understand it because they're attracted to abusive alpha males. Gene Roddenberry's the real alpha male. And so he writes this series about him and his loser friend who is very logical, and he's getting the women all the time. He doesn't know what the hell to do with it. What the fuck does Kirk even do with women?
Yeah.
Listen, James Bond is picking up a new woman in every movie because Blofeld murdered his fucking wife as they were driving their honeymoon, and he's a broken fucking man that wants to love but can't.
Right.
Gene Roddenberry is a 13-year-old boy that wants to touch some boobies.
And a fun thing with Gene Roddenberry is, for a communist, he seems to make his DVD and Blu-ray releases cost as much as my dad needed to mortgage his house for the actual series.
Oh, no, that's the thing. Is Star Trek is definitely communist. I mean,
Yeah.
except for maybe DS9.
Well, and here's
Well,
another
because
weird...
DS9 was written by like people who were like, "Hey, how would this actually work?"
Yeah,
Right, which
because
is why
Roddenberry
Cisco is the
died.
best captain ever in the whole
Yeah.
Star Trek series.
Yeah.
You don't mess with him.
It's second only to Janeway.
No, oh my gosh! Shut up! Just shut up! No,
Now he's a troll.
But
that
it's,
crazy psycho woman. Jeez. I mean, come on, he's
and
got the
you know
ship.
what?
You know,
Like, you get sucked into Star Trek because on the surface, Star Trek: The Next Generation, especially, it seems like you have a bunch of very well-read, reasonable people that manage to get along with one another. And when you're a teenager, you've got these silly aliens that are they just can't get along with anybody. And it's like, oh, look at these silly Ferengi. They're like, we want profit. Oh, silly Ferengi. They will learn to be wise. Like,
Space Amish, yeah.
if you're a smart kid, you know, you're a little bit smarter, you're not big into the sports thing, you will get sucked into that Star Trek universe, and it will suck you into becoming a gamma male secret king.
Well, there you go.
Secret King.
is that like the We Were Kings?
No, the gamma male is the secret king. He's the real king of the world, and everybody else just doesn't
Yeah.
realize that.
No,
yet.
yeah, exactly.
We was pawns and shit.
No, I think Dave is. I think that's absolutely true. That's what a gamma does.
Well, and you know,
John
check out some of
Scalzi.
there's also these themes in Star Trek. Like, for instance, in the original series, women weren't allowed to be captains. Star Trek is super progressive and equal and feminist, but women aren't allowed to be starship captains. Then in the
How
next
very anti the revolution, comrade.
Not
In
to
the
mention
next
their
generation-
outfits.
next generation, time and time again, there are these stories where the message is you need to go back to your people and be like them. Even though it's anti-racist, it's actually, there's this very strong latent racism to the whole thing. So again, it's the revolutionary that Gene Roddenberry is saying, I'm for communism, I'm for equality of the sexes and racial equality, so long as I get to have all the money, white men are on top, and, you know, women do what I say.
Yeah, that's a gamma male fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, the Ferengi are actually the projection. It's the dark projection of Gene Roddenberry. The Ferengi are what he looks like on the inside, but he won't admit it.
Oh, all right. Have you guys ever heard of SF Debris?
Yeah.
He did a great video about that, talking about how in one of the Deep Space Nine episodes, the one where they're on the planet and they're fighting the Jem'Hadar, like it with because they're trying to protect some type of relay. He actually talks about that, how the Ferengi there represent Roddenberry's vision. That the Ferengi are the ones that are sounding like what Roddenberry would originally said, versus how Starfleet are now acting, getting into an armed conflict. Just again to kind of go on to your point, Davis.
Well, yeah, and it's if you want to take it a step further, everything the left claims to support is what the right actually does. Like particularly with Christianity, that yes, there is men and women, we have our roles, but when we fulfill those roles, we become better, happier, and freer versions of ourselves. Whereas a woman that's taking testosterone to lift weights, or getting a career and wasting away 30 years, or what have you. Like they are sick, broken versions of themselves.
Yeah.
You lose being a woman, they end up becoming just essentially something like, basically an individual from something like Huxley's Brave New World.
A nice interchangeable worker unit for the factories.
Yep, part 42069.
Worker Unit 2359, did you enjoy the videos YouTube told you to watch? Yes, I did. I plan to pay for more corporate media.
No, I did not, Davis. Can I have some Soma?
Don't say damn. Just take a gram.
Marijuana, sure.
But see, all of that is going to be couched in the appearance that they're actually wise.
Right.
They're going to
they're actually, intelligent.
There's not going to be any money exchanges. It's just going to be the chip in the back of the hand and maybe one in the forehead.
Oh god, that Ferengi face is still getting me. Luke, please turn that off. But seriously, I can understand the point, because when Davis started this point, I was like, no, Star Trek doesn't have anything to do with this. Who watches Star Trek? You try and watch you try and get a millennial to watch the original series on Next Gen, and it's like trying to get someone from that generation to watch a black and white TV show. It's like The Omen, when you try and get the kid to go into a church. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But I think I can somewhat agree with that point, with the whole gamma and the actual analysis you put forward.
Yeah. Well, why watch any of those when you can watch, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and, what's that?
My Little Pony.
My Little Pony, absolutely. Although the writing in My Little Pony is actually pretty damn good, at least the first season. I will say that.
Oh god.
It's true.
I just want to clarify, I've
True.
never watched that show. I just saw SF Debris do a review of it.
I've only ever seen shows. The thing is, I'm a lonely virgin. That's why I don't ever want to go into the anime or My Little Pony reigns, because I feel like that would be like trying to pour petrol on nitroglycerine.
It's a dead trope, though, because, I've never heard of people actually watching the show anymore. It had its heyday. It had like 2 seasons, and that's it. And at the end of the...
They are still making pornographic video games about it on new games.
Oh god.
Well,
I think it's worth noting though that the bronies as a force though
they're still going.
Are gone. But those people have just latched on to whatever the next thing is. Probably Five Nights at Freddy's.
Steven Universe.
Or there you go.
Yeah, they've gone to Steven
The
Universe.
ones that didn't become trannies.
Oh,
Right.
God.
Why not the ones that became trannies? I would imagine the ones that became trannies would be even more interested.
And then actually, Brianna Wu with her video game, had these,
video game, quote unquote.
Like I've only seen clips of the damn thing, but the women in it are so two-dimensional and stereotypically like here they're complaining about goddamn gender stereotypes, and this is nothing but like the pure. Yeah, it's like drinking cough syrup or something, or I meant to say mouthwash, but you know what I mean. It's just like pure raw alcohol with no flavor or context or point. It's like we watch a Bond movie because we want to see a woman, and that's like the drink, but we want a little bit of alcohol, so she's a sexy woman in a cat suit, right?
Yeah.
That's the buzz. But it's like what the SJWs actually produce, it's either tepid water or just nothing but grain alcohol.
Oh my God, Luke, where did you find this image?
That's what I was laughing at. This is hilarious.
Luke, you might be a Calvinist, but I might fucking crucify you for that.
Well, thank you, I guess.
That's too good.
Oh my God, what are you doing? Here's the thing, which one is the man, though?
They both are, don't you know?
Michael Obama.
Oh,
See,
God.
all right, here's the thing. If the Klingon on the right actually had female genitalia, I would be more into it than the ex-first lady. Oh, for fuck's sake. I'd be more into the Ferengi on the left than the ex-first lady.
Fun story. Cisco from DS9 did actually give me a disgusting look one time. I shit you not, I've met him in real life. I shook his hand, and then he realized I had a sugary drink all over my hand. And I was 12 years old, so I did actually make Cisco reel in disgust at my filthy English hands.
You know, I went to one Star Trek convention when I was a kid. Marina Sirtis was supposed to be there, but she didn't show up, and I was not very disappointed. Fuck you, Counselor Useless.
Oh, God.
I sense that the angry man is angry.
Wow, what a superpower.
She is the worst counselor ever. I'm
And
having
what
these
exactly
very,
were the
I'm having these emotions of anger and hostility. Oh, you should explore that.
Explode.
I'm really terrified of transporters, and I know it's irrational. No, it's perfectly rational. Lots of people have died horrific deaths.
Oh, yeah, it's like Galaxy Quest.
Transportophobe.
This was a theory you actually pushed out, Davis, to me, was Galaxy Quest. Like, if you take the odds and evens theory with Star Trek films being good and bad, Galaxy Quest, if you include as a Star Trek film, everything still matches up with it being a good or bad film.
By the way, that's not me. That was SF Debris that pointed that out.
Well, you told me that. I don't watch SF Debris.
He's got some great stuff.
But Galaxy Quest is a very good film.
I really enjoyed his short story, You Better Watch Out, around Christmas time.
Oh yeah, where he redid Santa Claus as a elder Nordic god.
No, where he's
this Christmas. Do you know that Saint Nicholas actually punched out an Aryan for
That's
heresy?
just a myth. He didn't really do that, but it's a fun story. But he didn't really do
that. Myth, it's apocryphal. It might have happened, and that's good enough for me.
But there is a hilarious meme that I like to put up around Christmas time that says, "I'm here to chew bubble gum and punch Aryans in the face, and I'm all out of bubble gum."
Into Christianity, fight.
You know, I wonder if we could. It would be great for 4chan. Just if they could get the SJWs saying we need to punch out Aryans, but spell it ARIAN. That would be pretty damn funny.
Well, 4chan's April Fool's joke for this year was actually some of the boards were going to meld with other ones. So TV was going to meld with things like the Animu board, and that did cause quite a stir.
Well, for 8chan, their April Fool's joke was freaking dying. Now, if you try to go to like V, it'll take you to an old archive version of V. If you try to go to other boards, it'll take you to completely random pages on unrelated boards.
Yeah. Oh God.
That's TV great. That's just awesome.
Yeah. TV had a.
It was not an intentional April Fool's Day joke, by the way. It just happened.
TV got a special lineup with actually having a link straight to shit 4chan says, which I don't know if any of you guys have actually seen S4S, but it's essentially it's pure concentrated cancer.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah,
it's just really bad.
Yeah, so TV gets to be the actual first ship that goes to
Well,
so wait. Sorry, I was away for a second. Is 8chan actually dead then?
Currently,
I'm reading 8chan was hacked. It just
was it? That might be. might be that.
So, I will
8chan
admit,
has had it's been on a decline in users for a multitude of reasons, but I don't know really what the whole deal is, but people are just leaving.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I clicked on the poll catalog, and it took me to lollies.
Oh God, yeah, yeah.
Expect that.
Don't. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. If you want, don't try to verify this because you depending on what state you're in, it might get you in trouble.
Yeah, the FBI party van is on your way. Just please lock your doors.
Yeah.
Well, and I stopped 8chan after I heard a rumor about somebody went to it and saw illegal images on it, but that definitely wasn't me, government. And that was actually a specific. I think the guy's connected to the. Oh, what's that stupid forum that makes fun of 8chan or makes fun of Chris Chan all the time, but they've basically become Chris Chan.
Something awful.
Something awful.
It's another one, but yeah, it's basically something awful. And
Kiwi
and, it just strikes
Kiwi
me
Farms as well.
Yes, that's the one I was thinking of. It strikes me that the Chans they're just dying.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's a coincidence.
I got when I got really serious about quitting pornography, I stopped going to 4chan's B because just every once in a while you'd see a delicious you'd see
I can't tell if he's even shit posting.
But if you go to 4chan B today, it is like 90% porn.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. You carry on.
No, I was going to say.
So
it didn't used to be, but B has been just the cesspool for forever. For as long as I've been on Chance, it's just you never go to the random boards unless you just want to see shocking things or to try to shock other people or to just shitpost.
I'm being honest.
Right, but now it's not shocking anymore. It's a support.
Right.
It's
now right, and it's now become. This just gets to be a normal, right? That's now just base level because they've just constantly kept it up.
I'll be honest, I think B is unreadable, and not just in the actual emotional / I want my soul to actually go to heaven. Please don't touch me, God, away.
It's like succubus. I ain't going to heaven no more.
I'm talking about
It's too late for me.
I think the post rate is too high. At least if you go on in Poe, paper and origami, it's actually readable. You actually get a rate where you don't have 50 posts per second, which B has.
For a long time, 8chan had on many of its boards anyway, had that perfect posting rate where there was just enough people saying things just often enough to be active. Like basically it was a normal forum speed, right? But you had the added benefit of not having to worry about anonymity or not having to worry about people following your post history or whatever, because like every now and then you'll just say your opinion and it's misinformed or stupid or whatever, and you get corrected or you find out something new, but that doesn't have to follow you forever. You can just learn from it, right?
I need to point this out. Somebody said that like consistently on 8chan /zoo is in the top 20, and just in case that you don't know, /zoo doesn't mean an afternoon with your niece and nephew to go see the Pumas. But that said, you are very likely to see some cougars. I'm sorry, I interrupted you to get that line in there. Keep going.
That's basically all I had to say. Basically, what I want is just a forum with where I don't have to have the names. That's always been the appealing thing. They've always had that appeal of the old Roman forums where you don't, everybody just comes and talks about whatever or debates about whatever.
Well, let me ask you, do you think that it became mainstream and it degraded because it became mainstream?
4chan certainly did. Actually, one of the places that has consistently been okay is actually TG, the traditional games board, because that's enough of a niche and it's a completely different culture to the rest of everything else. You don't get this with like the video games board, because with traditional games like what I talk about, 40K and role-playing games and war games and all that, D&D, you have to have other players, right? And you have to be at least socially competent enough to get along with other people normally. Where so you kind of, when you're in that mindset of traditional games, you instinctively don't say things that will piss the other person off just for fun. Because when you're thinking about,
you must have played with different people than I've played with.
Well,
we had to ban Chaotic Stupid.
Okay. Yes, but that's what I was going to get at is you do get people like that, but that's the thing, you get banned.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's rare.
You get reprimanded for doing stupid crap, or people just stop agreeing to play with them. There are consequences, but when you're talking anonymously here, it's all, you're also have just an, I don't know. To me, TG has always been the sweet spot.
There's more anonymous shit posting than what you will find in real life. So
Sure.
You know, hey, Gaming Asshole just asked if Zoo is what he thinks it is. Let me put it this way, buddy.
Don't
8chan is a lesson in why you need a moderator, why you need moderation on forums, because there's 1,001 chans and just everything except for cheese pizza is on there.
Yeah,
so like I don't even want to go to the other boards because I don't want to be next door neighbors to any of that crap.
The thing is, TG on 8chan has one of the best mods ever. He's this guy called Tro. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's Crow with CH instead of C. And he always just posts pictures of a crow when he comes into the thread, and he's like, "Hey, cut that out," And then if they do it again, he just bans them. But then he'll just talk with people and not like he never power trips or whatever. He just is there to facilitate people having conversations. But that's the thing. 8chan is like a microcosm of the rest of sort of internet culture, right? Because anybody can make their own boards there, kind of like Reddit. The whole idea with 8chan was to have the good points of Reddit, which is anybody making their own boards, and the good points of 4chan, which is the anonymity and simple sort of browsing style. It is a little bit weird, as Bechtloff said. He's an old man. He had trouble getting used to everything, but once you get used to the navigation, it's a really intuitive sort of interface.
I don't know. I feel like I'm using Tor browser and I'm being watched just because I'm using it.
Yeah.
Are you guys not part of the NatSoc crowd? Are you guys not 1488?
No.
I'm kidding.
No.
Oh my God, that's why I can't go to poll on 8chan
because
anymore.
I like my women with vaginas.
Yeah, because poll on 8chan used to be this bastion of the more intellectual guys from 4chan's poll. But over time, it's just become where all the people on 4chan's poll go when they get banned. And so now they're just as contrarian as possible.
Yeah, it's all just NatSoc nonsense.
If you think Common Filth is contrarian, oh boy. Whew, you have not seen these. I mean,
Common Filth is optimistic and friendly compared to a lot of the people out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I really like the whole anonymous conversation stuff and image board. Yeah. I like the idea of image boards, and I like a lot of the experiences and people I've met through image boards. But I don't know. I feel like with how public it's become because of the whole Trump election being so connected to memes, I feel like it's in the middle of everything being taken down.
Let me tell you something that of all people, it was my landlord that said this to me. We were just chatting about things, and he said, "You know what? This is a righteous age where everybody needs to be right." And I think I've said the same thing, where people would rather be right than win. So they go on to 8chan because they got banned just so they can be right, and contrarian, and they never accomplish anything.
Yes,
and
that is what killed Gamergate.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, exactly. There was no ability to work together, no ability to cooperate to achieve a discrete end, but rather it became this, like, look at how self-righteous I am. I'm better than SJWs. And the SJWs, see, the thing is, the SJWs are useful to the establishment while we aren't.
Yeah, they are the brown shirts for the leftist narrative. That's all they are.
And you know what? Part of the reason I'm sticking up for Styx Hexen, I'm a Catholic and he's some sort of dark pagan, okay? But like, good Lord, man, if we're not going to stand for anything as a civilization, we are one by one going to get picked off. And
Yep.
I'm really, really worried about the alt-right currently, because I see the gyre expanding and losing control. I see the top falling over as the loudest and most idiotic voices dominate.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, I think you can have a
That's
healthy
exactly-
balance, though.
Yeah, that's exactly what the Milo. When Milo kind of fell apart a little bit, he's not out of the game obviously, but when Milo Gate happened, check out Vox Day's blog, Vox Populi, and what he said about Milo, and then go take a look at what the alt-right people, like the Richard Spencer types, and what them are saying.
Yeah.
That was when I started getting really worried about the alt-right, because I was like, we are not in this to win it anymore. This is now just what we care about, NatSoc 1488, and just trying to get on top. I just want to be on top, is what so many people are saying.
This is what gets me. Everybody worshipped Milo, and I didn't really have a problem with Milo. I had some early worries about him, but
Sure.
Whatever. I've got better shit to do than complain.
Yeah,
Milo,
Exactly.
he stood me up for an
he said
interview.
it-
That's it. That's all he's ever done negative to me. I've got, and it wasn't
Milo,
even me
you
who
can
was
show
standing
your
up.
mom and be like, "Man, isn't that interesting? Wow, what a world! It's so crazy."
Shit, it's the Britney Spears effect. They raised up Milo like he was some sort of god, and then as soon as he stumbled, they turned upon him and ate him alive.
Oh, yes, yeah. And I was just astounded how many people were saying, well, I never liked him. I never liked him. I wanted him to be taken. I'm like, you fool! Like he was making the alt-right and the right cool again. Like we could talk about this. He was doing so much good. Why are you shooting him in the back?
Yeah, and this, I hate to interject, but this was with information that was known for how many months?
Right. Like I remember I reacted to this on somebody's live stream. I don't remember if it was on this one or what, but I remember when that happened. I was like, yeah, that's kind of scummy, but whatever, I mean,
Milo's fucked in the head.
I regret not coming out harder in his defense, except that I don't pay attention to the fucking drama. I didn't realize what was going on.
Yeah.
All right, but I mean, here's where I think I need to take somewhat of a contrary opinion. I mean, again, I think there's a healthy balance, and I can go for a nuanced view. But I mean, from my personal perspective, Milo doesn't necessarily represent me. I mean, he can consider himself a conservative or call himself on the right or that kind of thing, and he can call out a lot of the absurdity. And sure, on that, I can, absolutely applaud it. But there are a lot of things and a lot of ideas that he would promote and suggest that, I absolutely wouldn't agree with. And again, it's sort of like, as much as this person was a figurehead, it's sort of like, I don't think he's someone that should have been propped up in the first place. It's someone that, again, obviously it's like, okay, the thing with Milo that I think was most useful is the fact that here you have someone who is, gay, and you have someone who obviously, loves black guys, right? But yet he's being called a homophobic and a racist. It demonstrates that the left really don't care what the words racist and homophobic actually mean. They're just using them as weapons. That's what Milo,
and listen,
Milo's purpose was to demonstrate that. He was never supposed to be some type of figurehead or grand leader, at least from my perspective. And in that sense, it's fine.
Here's the thing.
No, and listen,
this comes.
Pastor
this
Tom
comes,
of 425 Birch Street. That's exactly what I'm saying. Is that it's, and I think that's what Undertow was saying, that most of the people here, we did not worship him. He said, he's a homosexual, so he's probably a pederast.
He's a rank degenerate. Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
But here's the thing. This kind of speaks to this paradigm that we have, where everyone who is a figurehead has to be 100% what everyone in that group agrees with 100%.
Yeah,
I'm not necessarily holding it to that.
No, and I'm not. I'm not saying
close. I mean,
I'm not saying that you are, but I'm saying that's kind of speaks to the way people think about quote unquote figureheads, right?
Well, I agree with that. And again, I think that's where there kind of has to be a healthy balance, or you have to recognize the reality of the situation. Again, I mean, Donald Trump was not necessarily my favorite candidate, or the person that I would have, necessarily thrown my support around to begin with. However, when it came down between him and Hillary, yes, Hillary is you definitely did not want her getting into office. And so it's like, again, you'd much rather bank on Trump, who, again, I think, I'll say would going into it, I think was a bit of a wild card. But again, it's in some sense, he's trying to fulfill what he actually said, which is good. he was still been better to play the wild card than to go with what Hillary you knew that she was doing. And so at that point, it's okay to sort of, say, yes, we know who this is. Yes, we know what the disagreements are. This is still better than what we're faced with. And I think that's a more balanced way of approaching this, to where it's like, you take whoever, this guy's a degenerate. This guy is, all kinds of, here's where we disagree. However, in the areas that we do agree, obviously that to me, that accentuates the areas of where we agree, is when we can understand here's where we disagree, but yet here's where we agree. That's how we can understand these are important issues. These are issues that actually matter.
No, and we completely agree. And in fact, this is what I'm pointing out, is that what pisses me off is that people were turning Milo into a hero. Okay. And let me be frank, you know what? The fact that he listen, he doesn't want to fuck 8-year-olds. Okay. He just
obviously.
Yeah. It's just like every homosexual, he has an attraction to young boys. So he doesn't act on it. He's not Nambla. Okay. But he is completely unsurprising that way. Whereas my bigger issues with him, and that part doesn't surprise me at all. And all of a sudden, the people that worshipped him are saying, well, that was a little bit problematic. Like, what did you think he was going to say? He said it 2 or 3 years ago. This is common fucking knowledge. You were worshiping him, and we were saying this. My problem is he was, he raised that money to give a scholarship to white men to go get useless degrees, because that's how we fight SJWs. No, it was a fucking publicity stunt, and then he embezzled the funds, and nobody was saying anything about that. But as soon as the mainstream media turns on him, everybody turns on him, and I'm like, what the fuck do you people stand for?
Right, and again, I would agree. That's the thing, is that the right, if you could say that, is being far too reactionary, and that's a huge problem. That's a critique that I've had of the church. Far too often, we will allow the leftist media to determine who it is that we're going to talk about, who it is that we're going to promote or chastise or whatever. And it's like, why are we allowing them to determine these things? Instead, why don't we allow our own values and beliefs to determine what it is that we actually talk about?
Exactly.
And can I just say,
back to the. Well, I'll be quick. It goes back to the infantilization of culture, and we have just as many of these infants that are, instead of being the good little golden boy that gets the star, they're the little rebel that always picks his nose or mouths off the teacher. Yeah. And like that, at least half of the alt-right is full of these juvenile cosplayers. Yeah. I'm sorry, Raging. What were you going to say?
Just that the one of the arguments that really set me off when I was trying to come out in support of Milo, and was the argument that I heard from many in the alt-white crowd, was he's a race mixer. We've never liked him race mixing, and I'm like, I'm sorry,
butt batter.
The entire reason we are against miscegenation is because of the output of a child, right? We don't want to have mixed race children because they're going to have identity issues, blah 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 blah. I get that, right? But you can't accuse a practicing homosexual who is in no danger of having offspring of being a race mixer.
You're kind of stepping on your own dick when you do that.
The problem there is that he's having gay sex, not that he's having interracial sex.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
The problem with
interracial
sex. The problem with interracial sex is that the media is pushing. They're making it seem easier and healthier than intraracial sex. There is nothing wrong with interracial sex if the parents go into it eyes open, without it being some screwed up fetish that creates an Elliot Rodger baby. There's nothing wrong with it if they do it eyes open and they're doing it cautiously and they're a good match.
Right.
And God, these people are so damn twisted.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be making a video on the price of loyalty and what the Milo Gate thing taught me as an alt-right guy. But I was astounded because as it was happening, I checked Vox's channel, and then I checked Spencer's tweets, and that stupid site for the alt-white. There's a site they go to, Stormfront or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Hosted in Israel. Half the members.
Yeah, I made the mistake of actually going there because some of those people were coming onto Vox's blog, and I'm checking the comments, and these are the most idiotic. Absolutely. I'm like, what are you people in this for? I thought we were all supposed to be in this for advancing the right, and the alt-white and the alt-west were working together. And then after that, I saw you don't want to work. You don't want to actually make Western civilization better. You just want to be on top, and you want to be a fucking victim. And and I just couldn't stand it.
You want to be right. You want to be You want to be number one. You don't want to win. You do what really blew my mind recently. There's this guy. He's going by the name Based Stickman because he pulled out a baton and beat off some SJWs at a Trump protest.
The alt-right, yeah.
And now the alt-right is freaking out because he went on Facebook and said, you know, like, I don't like some of the racism. You know, like, I'm dating an Asian girl and I don't like, you know, I think there's too much of this racial and whatever. And so now there's this huge, can we still call him an ally even though he believes in Shut the fuck up.
Again, someone can be an ally and doesn't have to agree with everything that you say.
Exactly.
I mean, again, it's the difference between a comrade and an ally, and I don't want to sound like, hey, comrade or anything, but I mean, for real though, there are friends and then there are allies. There are people that you would acknowledge as contemporaries or again, colleagues versus allies. Allies are things that you have areas of overlap, but you have clear areas of disagreement. Colleagues would be people that, again, by and large, you agree with.
Well, and listen, and he's got a bloody point. Yeah, for example, I was in a bad mood when I was on your stream a few weeks ago, and I got a little bit out of line, saying rude stuff that I shouldn't have said on your channel. And it's not even necessarily that it's false, but it's rude. And so who knows what this guy's job is? Maybe he doesn't want to be associated with people posting Harambe memes because he has a job. And we're going to complain. Like, listen, when we talk about the white guy, Asian girl race mixing, or black man, white woman, we're talking about like that fat loser white guy that goes to the Philippines and thinks his wife loves him after he gets her a green card, or this fat, disgusting, trashy white woman that goes and sleeps with a black guy because she can't get any from white guys and she acts like she's proud of it. Okay, we're not, until I see evidence otherwise, this guy seems like a badass and he could get a white girlfriend. But he found an Asian girl that he likes, and they're having children, and they're going to be Americans, and what the hell is the problem with that?
Why does it have to be all or nothing so many times with people? Again, why can't you say, okay, look, when this person is saying this, that's good, that's correct, we're glad, we celebrate it. When they say this, we disagree. I mean, when Sargon does his stupid, there is no God, there's no objective morality, there's no excuse, blah, it's like, okay, yeah, he's being stupid, he's just, an atheist troll, right? But then when he actually says, well, free speech is important, it's a good that we have this, it's like, okay, great, we agree. So, I mean, again, I can acknowledge that he can say intelligent things and he can say stupid things.
Right.
Well, most people will associate a bad point from someone they don't like, and they will basically. It's essentially it's oh god, what's the term called? It's it's muddying the waters basically. Like you can think of a person you like, and you can think of the points you agree with, and if they make points that you agree with and they keep doing that, you agree with those points regardless of whether you've actually checked the citations. If you actually find someone who makes points against your own points of view, I think this was something I was talking with Edward Olsen actually 2 days ago. We were talking about the fact that there's a sort of objective bias. If I make a point against, I don't know, let's say a point of agreement you guys might like, you have that slight inclination to be more reserved against it because that point is attacking something you may actually hold. Whether it's objective or not, it could be completely untrue or it could be completely 100% correct. I think leftists have that to a massive magnitude where they basically just, like, I've seen leftists in real life shiver and quake.
Literally shaking.
Literally shaking. Like, literally, they couldn't even do anything.
Well, sure. I mean, again, everybody has those biases. And again, the important thing to think about is to try to set aside those biases and be fair to the side, even if it's rubbing up against your worldview, or your beliefs or whatever. And so, again, I get that. You can acknowledge that as well. And that's where you try to be fair, but you still acknowledge that maybe you can still have those biases. Everybody's operating on some type of presupposition at a certain point.
Yeah.
What's striking me is that we don't have beliefs or ideologies anymore. We have self-interests. Like when you look at the 1488 crowd, like the most virulent alt-white crowd.
Yeah.
Now listen, there's a valid frickin' complaint. White guys are being unfairly pushed out of the workforce, and our women are being, brainwashed into being tramps. There's a valid complaint there. But you start with a complaint. You start with a realistic assessment of the situation. That's what depressive realism is for. And then you go on to find a solution. And so many of these guys do not want a solution. And
Right.
so many of them, the moment they got laid, they would stop being ideologues. They would quit the team. They are only here because it gives them an outlet to vent and to spread poison. And they are all as atomized as every one of the SJWs out there. They have no real connection to anybody.
It gives them an identity.
Yeah,
I mean, that basically sums up the anti-SJW movement.
And it is just as flimsy an identity as the social justice warriors and the corporate cogs. Because what it comes down to is, do you have the strength of character to build your own character? To be your own person?
Yeah.
And ironically, that's what RPGs used to be about, isn't it?
Exactly why
Absolutely.
I love it so much.
Nowadays, even with Fallout New Vegas, which is the closest thing to an RPG made in 10 years, even that game, by end of the game, you have 100 points in every skill, and you're everything to everyone.
Yeah.
Well, on that depressing ass note.
No, that was good.
That's solid.
That's real solid. Unless anybody else has anything to say, I think we're going to close things out here. Sorry, we're not taking callers this week, just a few guests. I'm going to see if Bechtloff is around and he can come in here and wrap us up.
Final notes from the big man.
Yeah, everybody.
And by the way, I'll be doing a live stream tomorrow explaining where I've gone for the past week. It did involve police officers, but I was not on the receiving end for once.
So you started the 7th Crusade without me. That's very shameful.
I was given tacit permission to cause some people to bleed from the forehead.
Nice.
Very good. Just keeping the streets safe.
I'd also say
keep the hood safe, H.
Before Bechtloff comes in, advertisers, I did put some money in. I'd recommend for the base Doggo Fund, which
yes, please, everybody, send the Bechtloff some of your shekels for tonight. He needed the night off, but he's still working hard to bring you guys the quality entertainment you need.
And in case you missed it, guys, he got laid off on the same day that he had to put his dog down. All right, so
same week.
It's not
same week.
I mean,
close enough, right?
The day before, technically.
We're lucky you didn't go full John Wick.
Well, to be honest, Thursday morning I knew Loki was done, and I made the appointment before I went into work, and then I went into work and got laid off.
Jeez.
So that was, it's been a fun few days. But thank you all for doing the show in my absence. I appreciate that from all of you. And as I said, do check out the sponsor below, Race Ride Apparel. And once again, to the good folks at Race Ride Apparel, because this wasn't a typical show, this week's plug is on the house. And all right, that's all we got this week. Thanks for listening, folks. Bechtloff out.